Long ago, before the cities and nations we know today even existed, the lands of northern Europe were wild and untamed. Dense forests stretched endlessly, dark and full of mystery. Towering mountains loomed in the distance, and rivers carved their way through the earth like veins of life. It was in this rugged landscape that the Germanic peoples first began to rise, forging their path through history. These ancient people weren't a single tribe or nation, but rather a collection of groups bound by common language, customs, and beliefs. They were survivors, hunters and farmers who learned to endure the bitter cold winters and the harsh, unpredictable nature around them. They didn't see themselves as masters of the land, but as part of it. Every hill, every tree, every river seemed alive, filled with spirits and powers they could only glimpse and feel in the howling wind or the rustle of leaves. In the early days, their world was much smaller. They lived in tight-knit clans, often isolated from each other by the thick forests that separated their settlements. Yet, they were connected in ways that went beyond the physical. Shared language and tradition passed down through countless generations created a bond between these people, no matter how far apart they might have been. The heart of their world lay around the wide, open plains of northern Europe, where the Danube River flowed in the south, and the cold North Sea lashed against the shore to the west. Modern-day Germany, Denmark, and parts of Sweden and Norway were the cradle of their civilization. They didn't build grand cities, but they knew the land in a way that few others did. The forest provided wood for their homes, the rivers teemed with fish, and the soil, though harsh, was made to yield food through their persistence. As their numbers grew, so did their courage. They began to migrate and spread, some moving south toward the warmer lands of Central Europe, while others ventured west across the North Sea. They encountered other tribes, other peoples, but they never lost their fierce independence or their connection to their ancestors. They were a people forged in hardship, and this made them strong. Their neighbors, like the Celts and the Romans, saw them as fierce, wild, and unpredictable. And perhaps they were. The Romans, in particular, struggled to understand them. For the Roman Empire, with its marble cities and disciplined armies, the Germanic tribes seemed like forces of nature. The Roman historian Tacitus wrote about them, painting a picture of warriors who loved freedom above all else, men and women who would rather die fighting than live in chains. The Germanic people didn't build empires, but they held a strength that even Rome couldn't break. While they were seen as barbarians by their more civilized neighbors, these tribes had a culture and richness all their own. They honored their gods through rituals and songs, calling upon deities who reflected the raw power of their world. They worshipped Odin, the wise and mysterious father of gods, Thor, the thunderous protector with his mighty hammer, and Freya, the goddess of fertility and war. Their gods were not distant or abstract. These deities walked among them in their stories, shaping their lives in ways that felt tangible and immediate. The people believed in the strength of their ancestors, too. The spirits of those who came before them were never truly gone, but lived on in the land and in the blood of their descendants. This connection to their past made them fearless in the face of death, for to die in battle meant joining those mighty spirits in the afterlife, in the halls of Valhalla or the peaceful fields of Folkvanger. Life for the Germanic tribes was not easy. There were no roads to guide them through the wilderness, no fortresses to protect them from the cold winds or from their enemies. They faced constant struggles, not only against the elements but also against other tribes, who sought to take the same lands and resources. And yet, through every challenge, they learned to adapt. They forged weapons from iron and mastered the art of battle, not just for survival but for honor and glory. War was not just a matter of life and death, it was a way to prove oneself, to stand tall among one's peers, and to ensure that their name would be remembered long after they were gone. These early tribes were deeply influenced by the lands they lived in and the people they came into contact with. The Celts, who lived to the west, taught them the art of metalwork, and over time, they learned to craft intricate jewelry and weapons. From the Romans, they saw the power of organization and strategy, though they preferred their own ways of fighting, relying more on speed, strength, and ferocity than on the rigid discipline of Roman legions. But influence was never one way. The Germanic peoples also left their mark on those they encountered. Their culture spread through Europe as they moved, bringing with it new ideas of governance, language, and warfare. The Germanic languages, which would later evolve into modern languages like German, English, and Dutch, carried with them the stories, traditions, and beliefs of these ancient tribes. As the centuries passed, the Germanic peoples continued to grow and change. They began to form larger, more organized groups, slowly transitioning from small, scattered tribes to the foundations of kingdoms. The Saxons, the Franks, the Goths, and the Vandals, these names, which would echo through history, began to take shape during these early years. But even as they grew, they never lost their fierce independence or their connection to their past. The ancient ways of their ancestors still flowed through their veins. Though some tribes would eventually bend to the pressure of external forces, whether through conquest or conversion to new religions, the heart of their culture remained rooted in the values they held dear: loyalty, strength, honor, and the belief that every life was part of a greater story, one written not by human hands, but by the gods themselves. Their story is one of endurance. Through harsh winters, through war and hardship, they stood firm. Their history is not one of golden cities or grand empires, but of resilience and survival. It's the story of a people who, though surrounded by enemies and challenges, never gave up their claim to the land they loved, nor their bond with the spirits of their world. In the cold, silent nights of ancient times, before the written word bound stories to paper, there was only the voice. By the warmth of the fire, the flickering flames casting long shadows on the faces of men, women, and children, tales of gods and heroes were born. These stories were not told simply for entertainment. They were the heartbeat of a people, a lifeline that connected them to their ancestors, to their land, and to their gods. But even as the Viking Age pushed Norse culture outward, they never lost touch with the core values shared by all Germanic peoples. Honor, loyalty, and respect for the gods remained at the center of their beliefs. The gods, for all their might, were not infallible. They were flawed, just as humans were, and this made them relatable. Odin's relentless pursuit of knowledge, even at the cost of his own eye, or Thor's endless battles against the giants, these stories were not about perfection, but about striving, about fighting for survival in a world that was often brutal and unforgiving. As the Viking Age drew to a close, another powerful force began to sweep across the land, threatening to change everything. Christianity, with its promise of eternal salvation and a single, all-powerful God, began to take hold in the lands of both the Norse and the Germanic peoples. For centuries, these two belief systems existed side by side, often in tension. Pagan rituals continued in secret, even as churches were built and Christian prayers filled the air. But the old gods, once so strong and present, began to fade into the background. The conversion to Christianity was not a single moment, but a long and difficult process. For many, it felt like a betrayal of their ancestors, a breaking of the bond that had tied them to the gods of their land for centuries. The old rituals, the sacrifices, the feasts, the sacred festivals slowly disappeared, replaced by new symbols and new stories. But even as the crosses rose above the hills and valleys, the old myths didn't vanish entirely. They remained, hidden in the hearts of the people, whispered in the quiet moments, passed down in the stories told by grandmothers to their grandchildren. In some ways, the old gods found a way to live on, woven into the fabric of the new faith. Saints began to take on the attributes of gods. Saint Michael, with his sword raised high against the forces of evil, echoed the spirit of Thor, battling the giants with his hammer. Festivals once dedicated to pagan gods were repurposed, their meanings transformed but never completely erased. The gods were no longer worshipped openly, but they had left their mark, too deep to ever fully disappear. The impact of Christianity was undeniable, but it didn't erase the soul of the Germanic and Norse traditions. The stories of Odin, Thor, Freya, and the rest of the pantheon still carried weight, even as the world around them changed. For the people of the North, these gods had shaped their understanding of life and death, of honor and fate. They were more than just characters in a story, they were part of the land, part of the wind that swept across the mountains, part of the waves that crashed against the shores. Even today, when the old temples have long since crumbled and the sacrifices to the gods are only memories, the power of these myths endures. They remind us of a time when the world was vast and untamed, when the gods walked among men and every thunderstorm was a sign of Thor's hammer striking down upon the earth. They speak to something primal within us, something that still longs for the strength and wisdom of the old gods, for the courage to face whatever battles life may bring. The stories of the Norse and the Germanic peoples may be different in some ways, shaped by the unique paths they walked, but the heart of these myths is the same. They are tales of survival, of courage in the face of overwhelming odds, and of the deep connection between gods, men, and the world around them. Though the gods may no longer rule the skies and the seas, their presence lingers, like a shadow in the corner of our minds, reminding us of the strength that comes from facing life with honor, no matter what fate has in store. In the hearts of the ancient Germanic peoples, time did not move in a straight line. Life, death, and everything between followed a rhythm, a circle that returned endlessly upon itself. The past and future were not distant lands separated by an uncrossable river, they were bound together, like threads woven into the same fabric. This belief in the cyclical nature of time colored everything, the way they lived, the way they fought, and the way they faced the end. Fate, to them, was not something you could escape. It was as constant as the sun and as unyielding as the mountains. The Norns, those mysterious figures who sat beneath the roots of Yggdrasil, the great tree that touched all realms, wove the destinies of gods and men alike. Their weaving was final, their decisions unchangeable. A man could fight with all his might, but his path was already chosen, written in the stars before he took his first breath. And yet, knowing this didn't break their spirits, it filled them with a strange kind of courage. If death was inevitable, then the only thing that mattered was how you faced it. For the Germanic warriors, it wasn't death they feared. What haunted them was the thought of dying without honor, of leaving this world without having earned their place in the songs that would be sung for generations. To die well, to fall in battle with courage burning in your chest, that was true glory. It was a gift that echoed into eternity. A man's deeds were his legacy, his shield against being forgotten. The afterlife wasn't just a place of rest, it was where the brave continued their battles, where warriors would feast with the gods, their names immortal in the halls of Valhalla. The promise of an honorable death, of being welcomed into Odin's great hall, kept them steady in the face of fear, for it meant their story would never end. Glory was the heartbeat of their world. Even in the everyday, in the small moments between the great battles, honor was the compass that guided their steps. A man's word was his bond, his family was his pride, and his bravery was his greatest virtue. There was no greater shame than to live without purpose, to fail those who counted on you. It wasn't wealth or power that defined a great man, it was how he upheld the values that tied him to the land and the gods. Even in the harshest of times, these values shone like stars on a winter night, bright and unwavering. But this sense of glory and fate wasn't limited to men alone. The natural world, with its wild, untamed beauty, was woven into the same fabric of destiny. Every tree, every river, every mountain had a spirit, a presence that was alive with meaning. The forest was not just a place of wood and beasts, it was a living entity, a sacred space where gods and ancestors could be felt in every whisper of the wind. The Germanic peoples didn't just live on the land, they lived with it, in a bond so deep that it was impossible to see where the human world ended and the natural world began. The cycles of nature, the endless turning of the seasons, the birth and death of all living things, mirrored the cycles of time. Winter would always give way to spring, just as death would eventually lead to rebirth. This understanding of the world gave them a deep respect for the forces that surrounded them. They saw the hand of the gods in every storm, every fire, every gentle rain. Nature was powerful, and it demanded reverence. But it wasn't cruel, it was simply following its own fate, just as they were. Their connection to nature wasn't based on fear alone. It was rooted in a sense of awe and kinship. The earth gave them life, and they gave their lives back to the earth when their time came. The land was sacred, the mountains home to giants, the rivers flowing with the blessings of the gods. Every element of the world carried a story, a memory of something greater than themselves. The stars above them weren't just distant lights, they were the eyes of gods, watching, guiding, and sometimes testing the mortals below. The cycles of time, fate, and nature were all bound together in a dance, each one feeding into the other. Just as the seasons turned, so too did the fates of men and gods. Even the gods themselves weren't immune to the pull of destiny. Odin, wise as he was, knew that Ragnarök would come, that one day the world would be engulfed in fire and chaos, and even he would fall. But he didn't fight against it. He prepared. He faced his fate with the same strength he expected from his people, knowing that what mattered most was not avoiding the end, but facing it with courage. This view of the world wasn't bleak, even though it was often harsh. There was a deep beauty in the acceptance of fate, in the understanding that everything, good or bad, was part of a greater story. It gave life meaning, even in the face of suffering. The Germanic peoples knew that to resist fate was to resist the very nature of existence. Instead, they embraced it. They leaned into the storms, knowing that the gods had walked those same paths before them, and that their footsteps would be remembered, no matter how dark the night. Their worldview was shaped by a balance between the mortal and the divine, the seen and the unseen. The physical world and the spiritual world were not separate, they were intertwined. When they spoke to the gods, they spoke to beings who were not distant, but present in the trees, the stones, the fire. The gods were not above them, looking down, they were beside them, guiding their hands in battle, whispering to them in the quiet moments of life. This closeness to the divine gave their lives a sense of purpose and belonging that went beyond the mundane struggles of daily survival. They did not see themselves as powerless pawns in the hands of fate. Though they could not change their destiny, they could shape how they met it. The choices they made, the honor they upheld, the courage they showed, these were the things that would define their place in the world and in the afterlife. Life was a constant struggle, but it was a struggle filled with meaning, every moment charged with the weight of the past and the promise of the future. And when they looked out at the natural world, they didn't see something separate from themselves. They saw a reflection of their own lives, the endless cycle of birth and death, of growth and decay, of beginnings and endings. Just as the trees would shed their leaves and be reborn, so too would they return to the earth, only to rise again in the stories and memories of those who came after them. In the end, everything was connected, their fate, their glory, their world. And though they knew that even the gods would one day fall, they also knew that the cycle would begin again. There would always be another sunrise after the longest night, another spring after the deepest winter. It was this unbreakable circle, this eternal rhythm, that gave them strength and hope, no matter what storms lay ahead. In the beginning, there was nothing but a vast, endless void, silent, cold, and empty. This void, known as Ginnungagap, stretched between two worlds that had yet to take form. To the north lay the land of ice and mist, Niflheim, where frost and bitter winds ruled. To the south, Muspelheim burned with fire and scorching heat, its flames wild and untamable. And in the space between them, the first spark of creation stirred. As the icy winds of Niflheim blew towards the fiery breath of Muspelheim, something extraordinary began to happen. The warmth from the south met the frost from the north, and where they collided, drops of melting ice began to form. From these droplets of life emerged the first being, Ymir, a primordial giant. His form was massive, beyond anything that could be imagined, a living force of chaos and raw power. His body, cold and immense, pulsed with the beginnings of creation. Ymir was not alone for long. From the sweat of his body, other giants began to emerge, taking shape from the heat and cold that still clashed in Ginnungagap. The race of giants was born from his flesh, wild and untamed like the elements that gave them life. But something else began to form as well, something that would shape the destiny of all that was to come. From the melting ice also came a great cow, Audhumla. Her milk flowed in rivers, providing Ymir with the sustenance he needed to survive. As she licked the salty ice for nourishment, something miraculous happened. With each stroke of her tongue, she uncovered a new figure from the frozen blocks, a man named Buri, the ancestor of the gods. From Buri came Bor, and from Bor came Odin, Vili, and Ve, the three brothers destined to shape the world as it would be known. The world that lay before them was still wild, still full of chaos and uncertainty. Ymir and the giants roamed freely, their presence threatening to consume everything in their path. But Odin and his brothers had a different vision for the world. They could see beyond the chaos, beyond the endless battles of the giants. They knew that for life to truly flourish, something had to change. And that change could only come from the end of the first being, Ymir himself. With resolve burning in their hearts, Odin, Vili, and Ve faced Ymir. The battle that followed was like nothing that had ever been seen before, a clash of raw power and divine will. The brothers fought with a strength that shook the very foundations of Ginnungagap. In the end, Ymir, the primordial giant from whom all life had sprung, fell. His body, immense and boundless, became the foundation for the world that would come. From Ymir's flesh, the brothers crafted the earth. His blood, thick and red like molten lava, became the oceans and rivers that would carve paths through the land. His bones, hard and ancient, were transformed into the mountains, tall and unyielding, rising towards the sky. His hair, once wild and free, became the trees and forests, spreading their roots deep into the soil. And his skull, vast and heavy, was lifted above to form the dome of the sky, held up by 4 dwarves at its corners, ensuring that the heavens would never fall. From his very being, the world as we know it was born, shaped by the hands of the gods and made from the remains of the first giant. The blood of Ymir flowed through the veins of every river, every stream, carrying with it the memory of the ancient chaos from which life had emerged. The mountains stood as sentinels, reminders of the bones from which they had been formed. The trees whispered with the breath of the giant, their branches reaching toward the sky that was once his skull. But Odin and his brothers were not finished. The world they had shaped was vast and beautiful, but it was still empty. Life needed to flourish, to fill the lands they had created. So they turned their attention to the shore, where they found 2 trees standing alone, one ash and one elm. From these trees, they crafted the first humans. They gave them breath, will, and senses, naming them Ask and Embla. These 2, the first man and woman, were set upon the land to live, grow, and fill the world with their descendants. The creation of the world was not simply the shaping of land and sea, it was an act of profound meaning. Ymir, who had once embodied the wild, uncontrollable forces of nature, had been transformed into the very foundation of life itself. In his death, he became the source of all that was good and strong in the world. His sacrifice was not one of destruction, but of creation, a necessary act to bring forth the beauty and balance that would allow life to thrive. And yet, the memory of Ymir lived on in the giants, his descendants, who still roamed the edges of the world, watching from the mountains and the wilderness. They remembered the old ways, the chaos from which they had sprung, and they were not so easily tamed. The gods had built a world of order, but the giants still carried the fire of rebellion in their hearts. They would forever be a reminder that chaos was never far, that it lurked beneath the surface of the world, waiting for its moment to rise again. The cosmos itself was born from this tension between creation and destruction, order and chaos. The world was not perfect, nor was it meant to be. It was a place of struggle, of beauty forged from hardship, of life that grew from death. The blood of Ymir, the bones of the mountains, the breath of the trees, all were reminders that creation came at a cost, that life was born from sacrifice. And so, the world stood. The gods watched over it, knowing that one day even their power would be tested. Ymir's blood still ran through the rivers, and his bones still stood as the mountains, silent and strong. The world was shaped, but it was never truly at peace. For just as the gods had created it, so too did they know that one day it would return to chaos. But until that day came, life would flourish, rooted in the body of the first being, the giant who had given everything to bring the world into being. The world of the Germanic peoples was not just one single place. It was many, connected by the great tree, Yggdrasil, whose roots and branches stretched through the very fabric of existence. Yggdrasil touched everything, its towering presence linking the 9 realms together. These realms were more than mere places, they were living, breathing lands, each with its own spirit, each home to beings that shaped the lives of men and gods alike. Every step through the 9 worlds carried the weight of ancient magic, of stories whispered in the winds and carved into the rocks. High above, in the realm of the gods, lay Asgard, the home of the Aesir. This was a place of towering halls and golden light, where the gods themselves lived, ruled by Odin, the All-Father. Valhalla stood at the heart of Asgard, a great hall filled with the bravest of fallen warriors, those who had died with honor in battle. Every day, these warriors would train and fight, their strength never fading, awaiting the day of Ragnarök when they would join the gods in the final battle. Asgard was a realm of strength and wisdom, a place where gods like Thor, with his hammer Mjolnir, and Frigg, Odin's queen, watched over the fates of men. It was a place where decisions were made that could shake the foundations of all 9 realms. Below Asgard, separated by a rainbow bridge called Bifrost, was Midgard, the world of men. Midgard was the land we know, but in the hearts of the Germanic peoples, it was far more than just earth and sky. It was the battleground of life, where every person lived under the gaze of the gods. Midgard was surrounded by an impassable ocean, guarded from the chaos beyond by Jormungandr, the great serpent who encircled the world. Men in Midgard lived their lives with the knowledge that they were connected to something far greater, their fates tied to the will of the gods and the forces of the cosmos. Every storm that swept across the land, every bolt of lightning, every gentle breeze, these were the echoes of the gods' hands at work. But beyond the safety of Midgard's borders, there were other realms, wild, dangerous, and filled with ancient power. Jotunheim, the land of the giants, lay on the edge of everything, its mountains cold and its forests dark. The giants were old, far older than men or gods, and they carried within them the raw, untamed force of nature. They were not evil, but they were unpredictable, their ways strange and often threatening. Jotunheim was a land where the very earth seemed to breathe with the weight of ancient magic, where the giants watched, waiting for their time to come. It was a place of challenge, where even the gods tread carefully, knowing that the giants were as much a part of the world's balance as they were. In contrast, Niflheim was a realm of ice and fog, a place where cold reigned and life struggled to exist. It was one of the first worlds to emerge from the chaos of creation, its frost-biting and merciless. Hel, the daughter of Loki, ruled here, in a dark hall where the dead who had not died in battle came to rest. This was not a place of torment, but it was a cold and lonely end for those who had not earned the honor of Valhalla. Niflheim was a land where the air itself seemed to freeze the spirit, where time moved slowly, and the weight of eternity pressed down on those who dwelled there. Opposite Niflheim's cold embrace lay Muspelheim, the land of fire. This realm burned with unending heat, its flames fierce and untamed. Muspelheim was the home of Surtur, the fire giant, who held in his hand a sword that burned brighter than the sun. It was said that, at the end of days, Surtur would rise from Muspelheim, bringing fire and destruction to the worlds of gods and men. Muspelheim was a realm of pure chaos, its flames a constant reminder that creation and destruction were always intertwined. It was a place where even the gods looked with wary eyes, knowing that fire could not be controlled forever. Beneath the earth, in the shadows, lay Svartalfheim, the home of the dwarves. These master craftsmen lived in dark caverns, their skill in forging unmatched by any other beings. It was here that some of the most powerful objects in the cosmos were crafted, Thor's hammer, Odin's spear, and even the chains that bound the great wolf Fenrir. The dwarves were not warriors, but their creations held the power to change the course of history. Svartalfheim was a place of dark mystery, where the clang of hammers echoed through the stone halls, and the fires of the forge never died. Beside Svartalfheim was Alfheim, the realm of the light elves. These beings were radiant and graceful, their beauty unmatched, and they lived in harmony with the natural world. The elves were closer to the divine than men, their magic woven into the very fabric of the forests and rivers of Alfheim. They were mysterious, rarely interacting with the other realms, but their presence was felt in every beam of sunlight and every blooming flower. Alfheim was a place of light and beauty, where life flourished and time seemed to slow, the air filled with the soft whispers of nature's song. Vanaheim, the home of the Vanir gods, lay somewhere far in the distance. The Vanir were different from the Aesir, gods of fertility, prosperity, and the harvest. Their ways were older, more in tune with the cycles of the earth, and though they once warred with the Aesir, peace had long since been made. Vanaheim was a land of lush fields and gentle rains, where the soil was rich and life thrived. The Vanir were closer to the earth, their magic subtle but powerful, and their influence could be felt in every harvest, in every birth, and the turning of the seasons. Finally, there was Helheim, a shadowy place ruled by Hel, where the souls of those who had lived ordinary lives, neither heroic nor dishonorable, found their rest. Helheim was not a place of punishment, but it lacked the warmth of Valhalla's feasts and the thrill of eternal battle. It was a land of quiet reflection, where the dead could find peace, but it carried with it the weight of eternity, a slow and silent end to the journey of life. These 9 realms were not distant from one another. They were connected by Yggdrasil, the world tree, whose roots and branches touched every part of the cosmos. The tree was alive, its great branches stretching into the heavens, its roots sinking deep into the earth. It was said that beneath Yggdrasil lay the well of Urd, where the Norns, those mysterious weavers of fate, tended to the threads of destiny. Every being, from the gods in Asgard to the giants in Jotunheim, to the men in Midgard, was bound by these threads. Yggdrasil stood as a reminder that all things were connected, that the fate of one world was tied to the fate of all. In these 9 realms, life and death, chaos and order, creation and destruction all coexisted. The gods, the giants, the men, the elves, and the dwarves all played their part in the endless cycle. And though the world might seem vast and fragmented, it was all part of a greater whole, a balance that kept the cosmos turning, the stars burning, and life thriving. In the heart of the cosmos stood Yggdrasil, the great world tree. Its roots ran deeper than time itself, its branches spread wider than the farthest reaches of the sky. Yggdrasil wasn't just a tree, it was life, it was death, and everything in between. It held the worlds together, connecting gods, men, and all living creatures in an unbreakable bond. To the people who told its stories, Yggdrasil was more than a symbol, it was the very pulse of existence, a sacred force that held together the fragile balance of the universe. The sight of Yggdrasil, if one could see it in its entirety, would have been awe-inspiring. Its branches reached out to touch every corner of the 9 realms, cradling them in its embrace. In Asgard, it stood tall, casting its shadow even over the halls of the gods. Its roots spread far, twisting through the earth of Midgard, threading their way into the darkness of Helheim, and touching even the fiery land of Muspelheim. The tree was everywhere and nowhere, a bridge between what was seen and what could never be fully understood. The roots of Yggdrasil ran deep into the earth, anchoring it in 3 powerful wells, each with its own purpose. One root drank from the well of Urd, where the Norns, Urd, Verdandi, and Skuld, sat weaving the fates of all beings. Here, beneath the great tree, they spun the threads of destiny, tying the lives of gods and men alike into a tapestry that stretched across time. The water of this well was pure, feeding Yggdrasil and giving it the strength to endure the ages. It was here, under the watchful eyes of the Norns, that the past, present, and future were woven together, inseparable and eternal. Another root stretched into the land of the frost giants, Jotunheim, where it touched the well of Mimir. This well held the wisdom of ages, guarded by Mimir himself, a being of unmatched knowledge. Odin, in his quest for wisdom, had sacrificed an eye to drink from this well, for the water it held was precious and potent. Every drop was heavy with the weight of secrets known only to the ancient forces of the world, and it was from this root that Yggdrasil drew the wisdom of the ages, its knowledge flowing into the very fabric of the worlds it connected. The 3rd root reached into Niflheim, the realm of mist and cold. Here, it drank from the spring of Vrgelmir, where icy waters bubbled up from the depths, feeding the darker parts of the tree. But these waters were not pure. They were tainted by the gnashing teeth of Nidhogg, the monstrous dragon that gnawed endlessly at Yggdrasil's roots. Nidhogg, a creature of destruction, hated the tree's strength, and in his endless hunger, he sought to weaken it, to tear it apart from below. His sharp claws and fangs scraped at the roots, but the tree stood strong, nourished by the waters of Vrgelmir even as it withstood the creature's attacks. Far above, in the highest branches of Yggdrasil, an eagle perched. No one knew its name, but its wings spanned the skies, and its eyes saw all that happened below. Between the eagle and Nidhogg ran a small but cunning creature, a squirrel named Ratatoskr. Ratatoskr thrived on chaos, delighting in the tension between the two great creatures. It would scurry up the tree, carrying messages of hatred from Nidhogg to the eagle, and return with insults from the eagle to Nidhogg, fanning the flames of their animosity. The squirrel was a trickster, stirring conflict where there was none, making sure that peace could never truly settle within Yggdrasil's ancient body. Yet, for all the tension, all the gnawing and scurrying, Yggdrasil remained unshaken. It endured, as it always had, for it was more than just wood and leaves. It was the backbone of the cosmos, the keeper of life's secrets, and the bridge between worlds. Its branches held the stars, and its roots whispered to the dead. It was through Yggdrasil that the gods moved between realms, crossing from Asgard to Midgard or venturing into Jotunheim to confront the giants. It was Yggdrasil that allowed souls to journey from the world of the living to the world of the dead, passing from Midgard to Helheim when their time came. The creatures that lived within Yggdrasil were as much a part of its story as the gods who walked its branches. Nidhogg, with his endless hunger for destruction, was a reminder that even in the heart of creation, there was always a force of decay. Ratatoskr, with his mischief, reminded the gods and men alike that life was full of challenges, that even in the strength of Yggdrasil, conflict and chaos could never be completely banished. The eagle, silent and watchful, stood for the wisdom of the ages, seeing beyond the squabbles of creatures like Ratatoskr and Nidhogg into the deeper truths that lay within Yggdrasil's vast heart. But Yggdrasil was not invincible. The tree, ancient and strong, carried the weight of prophecy within its roots. There would come a day, it was said, when even Yggdrasil would tremble. At the time of Ragnarök, when the final battle between the gods and the giants began, the tree would shake from its roots to its highest branches. The skies would darken, the waters would rise, and Yggdrasil would groan under the weight of the chaos to come. Nidhogg, sensing his time, would gnaw more fiercely at the roots, trying to bring the tree down. But even in this, there was hope. Yggdrasil's roots were deep, deeper than Nidhogg's fangs could ever reach. Its branches, though they might shudder, would not break easily. For Yggdrasil was not just a tree, it was the embodiment of endurance. It stood through the ages, weathering the storms of time, the gnawing of Nidhogg, the tricks of Ratatoskr, and the watchful gaze of the eagle. It was a tree that held within it the heart of the universe, the breath of life, the promise that no matter how dark the days might grow, the worlds it cradled would continue. In the rustling of Yggdrasil's leaves, the Germanic peoples heard the song of creation and destruction, of life's eternal cycle. The tree stood as a testament to the balance between light and shadow, between wisdom and chaos, between life and death. And as long as Yggdrasil stood, so too did the worlds it carried, bound together by its roots, its branches, and the sacred waters that fed its soul. The air grows thick, the sky darkens, and an ancient whisper trembles through the earth. It's not just a storm, this is something far deeper. The gods know it. The beasts in the wild feel it. And in the hearts of men, an unspoken dread stirs. This is the beginning of the end. Ragnarök, the twilight of the gods, has been foretold for as long as anyone can remember, and now that moment has come. It begins with the howling of wolves. Skoll and Hati, those terrible beasts who have long chased the sun and moon across the sky, finally catch their prey. With a snap of their jaws, the world is thrown into darkness. No more light. No more warmth. The stars blink out, one by one, and an icy silence falls over the land. The sun and moon are gone, devoured by creatures whose hunger could not be sated until this moment. The earth begins to shudder. Mountains crumble, the seas churn with fury, and the ground splits open as the ancient chains that held back Fenrir, the monstrous wolf, are shattered. Fenrir, with eyes that blaze like molten fire and fangs as sharp as swords, rises from the depths. His howls echo through the 9 realms, a sound so fierce that even the bravest of gods feel a tremor in their hearts. He is free, and with each step, the earth trembles. His jaws open wide, so wide that he can swallow the sky itself. And as if in answer to Fenrir's release, Jormungandr, the Midgard serpent, stirs from his slumber in the ocean depths. His massive coils unwind, and the seas rage around him. His venomous breath poisons the skies, the land, and the waters. The very air becomes a weapon, thick with the serpent's deadly mist, suffocating all life in its path. But even as the world cracks and heaves, there is no retreat in Asgard. The gods have known this day would come. Odin, the All-Father, has seen it in his dreams, in the whispers of the Norns at the Well of Ord. He knows what must happen, and he knows the cost. He dons his armor, gripping Gungnir, his spear, with a resolve that only grows as the end draws near. Odin will meet his fate, but not with fear. The gods will fight, because this is who they are, because they must. The horn of Heimdall sounds, a call that rings out across the realms, calling all to the battlefield. The warriors in Valhalla, those brave souls who have fallen in glorious battle, rise once more. They take up their swords, axes, and shields, ready to stand beside the gods in the final war. They have waited for this moment, trained for it, and now, with fire in their eyes, they march towards the inevitable. Odin leads the charge, his gaze fixed on Fenrir. The great wolf charges toward him, jaws wide, death in his eyes. This battle, between the Allfather and the monstrous beast, is one of legend. Odin fights with everything he has, his spear flashing like lightning. But Fenrir is relentless. No force, not even Odin's, can hold back the tide of destiny. The wolf's jaws close around Odin, and the Allfather falls. The world seems to shake with the weight of his death. But there is no time to mourn. Thor, mighty and fierce, steps forward to face Jormungandr. The god of thunder, with his hammer Mjolnir in hand, is the only one who can hope to stand against the serpent. Thunder roars, and lightning cracks the sky as Thor brings Mjolnir down with earth-shattering force. The serpent thrashes, its venom filling the air, but Thor fights on. With a final, mighty blow, Thor slays Jormungandr, but even the god of thunder cannot escape the serpent's poison. As he steps back from the battle, victorious yet exhausted, the venom takes its toll. Thor falls, his strength drained by the deadly bite of the creature he has slain. All around, chaos reigns. The giants, long the enemies of the gods, storm across the battlefield, their power shaking the very foundations of the worlds. Surtur, the fire giant, rises from Muspelheim with a sword that burns hotter than the sun. His fire consumes everything in its path, burning brighter and brighter until even the heavens seem to melt under its heat. He swings his sword with unrelenting fury, and the land itself is set ablaze. In the end, Surtur's flames will engulf the world, reducing it to ash. But amid the destruction, there are acts of courage. Tyr, the one-handed god of war, faces Garm, the hound of hell. They clash with such force that the ground beneath them cracks, and neither of them emerges alive. Loki, the trickster, faces Heimdall, the ever-watchful guardian of Asgard. Their battle is fierce, each knowing the other too well. In the end, they strike each other down, both falling in a final, bitter embrace. The end is near. The sky, the earth, the sea, everything is burning, breaking, collapsing. The world is consumed by fire and water, the forces of chaos and creation colliding in one final, cataclysmic moment. The 9 realms, once held together by the branches of Yggdrasil, tremble and crack. Everything that was, everything that has been, is on the verge of being lost. But even in this darkest hour, there is a whisper of hope. After the fires die, after the waters recede, something stirs in the ashes. The earth, though scarred and broken, begins to heal. From the wreckage, new life emerges. Baldur, the beloved god who had once been slain, returns from the underworld, his presence bringing light to the darkness. The sons of Thor and Odin, the next generation of gods, rise to rebuild what was lost. And from the remnants of the old world, a new world begins to take shape. 2 humans, Lif and Liftrazor, hidden away during the destruction, emerge from their shelter. They are the first of a new race, the bearers of humanity's future. As they step into the new dawn, the cycle begins again. Life, once more, takes root. The world has ended, but from its end comes rebirth. Ragnarök is not just a tale of death and destruction, it is a story of renewal, of the unbreakable spirit of life, even in the face of overwhelming darkness. Though the old gods may fall, though the sun and moon may be swallowed, there is always the promise of a new beginning, waiting to rise from the ashes of the old. In the cold, windswept lands where the sky is vast and the earth stretches into the unknown, there was a god whose presence was felt in every gust and every shadow. Odin, the All-Father, the one-eyed wanderer. His name alone carried the weight of both fear and reverence. He was the keeper of secrets, the seeker of wisdom, and the one who would give up anything, even a part of himself, to understand the universe's deepest mysteries. To speak of Odin is to speak of a god whose soul was marked by both light and darkness, love and sacrifice. From the beginning, Odin's hunger for knowledge set him apart. He was not content to rule in ignorance, like so many others might have been. There was something burning within him, a relentless desire to understand the nature of existence itself. This was no simple curiosity, it was a need, a drive that would lead him to make choices no other god would dare. To gain wisdom, Odin gave up his eye, casting it into Mimir's well. The water in that well was more than liquid, it was the distilled essence of knowledge, guarded by Mimir, a being of such deep understanding that even the gods respected him. By drinking from the well, Odin saw things others could never imagine. He saw the past, the future, and the fragile threads of fate that bound the worlds together. But the loss of an eye was only the beginning. There was more to learn, more power to be gained, and Odin knew it. He sought the runes, those ancient symbols that held the magic of creation itself. But the runes would not simply be handed to him. To unlock their power, Odin had to endure something greater than pain. He hung himself from the branches of Yggdrasil, the world tree, for 9 long days and nights, wounded by his own spear, teetering on the edge of death. He offered himself as a sacrifice, an act of unimaginable will, a test of his spirit that few could survive. In that hanging, as he dangled between life and death, the runes revealed themselves to him. They whispered their secrets in the silence, giving him power over words, magic, and fate itself. Odin's sacrifice was rewarded with a new kind of sight, one that could see beyond the visible, into the hidden forces that shaped the world. The runes became part of him, flowing through his very blood. And with that knowledge, Odin became not just a god of war or wisdom, but a master of both magic and destiny. Odin was more than just the ruler of Asgard. He was the father of gods, the chief among the Aesir, and the force that bound the pantheon together. His relationship with the other gods was complex, filled with love, respect, and sometimes tension. He was a father to Thor, the mighty god of thunder, whose strength and loyalty were unmatched. Thor was the protector of the gods, a force of nature, and yet even he looked to Odin for guidance. Odin's love for Thor was fierce, but Odin was also a father who knew that strength alone would not be enough when Ragnarök came. With Loki, the trickster god, Odin's relationship was even more complicated. Loki was unpredictable, wild, and often dangerous. But Odin saw something in him, something beyond the chaos. He saw potential, a mind as sharp as it was cunning. Odin welcomed Loki into the ranks of the gods, though he knew it would come at a cost. The bond between Odin and Loki was a fragile one, built on both mutual respect and a lingering distrust. Loki's actions would, in the end, bring about great suffering, yet Odin never fully turned his back on him, as if knowing that even chaos had a role to play in the grand design. Odin's relationship with humans was no less significant. He was not a distant god, removed from the affairs of mortals. To the Germanic peoples, Odin was a god who walked among them, who whispered in the winds and whose presence could be felt in the battlefields. He was a god of warriors, the chooser of the slain. When a warrior fell in battle, it was Odin's Valkyries who would swoop down and carry the bravest of them to Valhalla, Odin's hall, where they would feast and fight until the final battle of Ragnarök. To die in battle, to be chosen by Odin, was the greatest honor a warrior could hope for. But Odin's connection to humans was not just one of death. He was also a god of wisdom, poetry, and inspiration. Skalds, poets, often invoked Odin when seeking the words to craft their songs. Odin's gift of the runes meant that he had power over language itself, and those who sought knowledge or creative inspiration turned to him. He was the god of the wandering soul, the one who could guide both the warrior and the thinker. Yet, for all his power, there was always something tragic about Odin. His knowledge of the future weighed heavily on him. He knew of Ragnarök, the end of all things, and he knew that his fate was sealed. He would fall in battle to Fenrir, the great wolf, his death already written in the strands of fate. And still, he fought against it. Odin's wisdom did not bring him comfort, it brought him an understanding that the world was fragile, that even the gods would one day fall. But rather than succumb to despair, Odin chose to face his fate head-on. He prepared for Ragnarök, gathering the bravest warriors in Valhalla, not to escape his destiny, but to meet it with honor. Odin's life was one of sacrifice, of endless seeking, and of unshakable resolve. He was a god who gave everything to understand the world, to protect it, and to prepare for the inevitable end. His journey was not an easy one, but it was one that shaped not just the fate of the gods, but the fate of all existence. He was a god who embodied the tension between wisdom and sorrow, between power and vulnerability. And in the end, that is what made Odin truly great. Not just his strength or his knowledge, but his willingness to sacrifice, to give of himself for a cause greater than even he could fully control. He was the All-Father, the one who bore the weight of the universe on his shoulders, and even in his downfall, there was a kind of victory. Because Odin, with all his flaws, his sacrifices, and his wisdom, represented the enduring spirit of those who fight not because they believe they will win, but because the fight itself is worth everything. The sky rumbles, and a storm rolls in. But this is no ordinary storm. It carries the raw, primal energy of a god who has been the guardian of both gods and men for as long as anyone can remember. Thor, the thunder god, stands tall among the chaos, his hammer, Mjolnir, crackling with lightning in his grip. There is no fear in his eyes, only the steady resolve of someone who has fought and won battles no mortal could survive. Thor's presence alone was enough to send a shiver down the spines of his enemies. And for those who stood with him, it brought nothing less than hope. Thor was more than just a god of thunder, he was the protector. Whether it was the golden halls of Asgard or the mortal world of Midgard, Thor stood between chaos and order, between the destruction that giants sought to bring and the safety of the realms. His enemies were not just mythical creatures, they were forces that sought to tear apart the balance of the world itself. The giants, beings of immense power, were Thor's greatest foes, and countless times, he faced them on the battlefield. There was one thing that made Thor unstoppable, Mjolnir, his mighty hammer. Forged by dwarven craftsmen, Mjolnir was no ordinary weapon. It was the embodiment of Thor's strength and the symbol of his duty. With it, he could summon storms, defeat his enemies, and protect the very fabric of the world. Mjolnir was not just a tool of war, it was the lifeblood of Thor's power, the connection between him and the skies above. When Thor swung Mjolnir, lightning answered his call, and thunder roared in response. The earth trembled beneath his feet, and his enemies knew that nothing could stop him. But Thor's battles were not just for himself, they were for the gods and mortals who depended on him. Every time he faced a giant, it was for the people of Midgard who looked up at the skies and hoped for a protector. The giants threatened to destroy everything, their rage unquenchable, their strength unmatched. But Thor never hesitated. He fought not because he sought glory, but because he knew it was his duty. Each blow of Mjolnir was a testament to his unwavering commitment to keeping the world safe. One battle, in particular, stood out among the many he fought. Thor faced the giant Hrungnir, whose immense size and brute strength made him a terrifying opponent. The earth itself seemed to shake as Hrungnir advanced, his laughter booming as if the world would soon belong to him. But Thor, undeterred, raised Mjolnir high. In a clash of thunder and fury, they met, god against giant. Hrungnir's stone shield shattered under the force of Mjolnir, and with one final strike, Thor brought the giant crashing down. The world breathed again, the storm subsided, and the people knew they were safe, for now. Thor was not just a figure of brute strength, he was also deeply symbolic to the Germanic peoples. His hammer, Mjolnir, was not merely a weapon of destruction, it was a symbol of protection, fertility, and blessings. Across the lands, people wore small replicas of Mjolnir as amulets, believing it would bring them Thor's strength and safeguard them from harm. In the roaring thunder and the crackling of lightning, they saw Thor's presence, a reminder that even in the darkest storms, someone was watching over them. In the everyday lives of the Germanic people, Thor was a symbol of stability. Farmers prayed to him for rain, knowing that his hammer could break the skies open and bring the life-giving waters to their crops. Warriors called upon Thor before battle, trusting that his strength would guide them to victory. In a world where nature could be as cruel as any enemy, Thor was the force that kept the elements in balance. His very name evoked power, and in his tales, people found the courage to face their own battles, however large or small. Thor's relationship with mortals was not distant like that of some other gods. He was a god who walked among the people, who understood their fears and challenges. He was not just the protector of the gods in their shining halls, he was the defender of men who struggled under the weight of harsh winters, who fought for their families and homes. Thor was the god who could be called upon by anyone, whether it was in the midst of a terrifying storm or in the quiet of a farmer's prayer. To those who followed him, Thor was not just a god, he was a friend, a guardian, someone who would stand beside them when the world turned dark. But Thor's life was not just one of endless battles. He had a fierce love for his family, especially for his wife Sif, whose golden hair was as radiant as the fields of wheat she watched over. Though Thor's role as protector often took him away, his bond with Sif was a reminder that even gods had those they held close. And like all beings, Thor's strength was rooted in his love, for his family, for Asgard, and for the world he swore to protect. Thor's protection was not without cost. He knew, as all the gods did, that Ragnarök, the end of all things, would one day come. And when it did, Thor would face his greatest battle yet. He would stand against Jormungandr, the Midgard serpent, a creature as ancient as the world itself. Their fight would shake the very foundations of the earth, and though Thor would slay the serpent, the venom coursing through his veins would claim his life. Even in death, Thor's final act would be one of victory, ensuring that the world would have a chance to rise again. In the hearts of those who worshipped him, Thor was more than just a thunder god. He was the embodiment of strength, courage, and the unbreakable will to protect those who could not protect themselves. His hammer was more than a weapon, it was a symbol of the power that comes from standing firm in the face of overwhelming odds. Thor's legacy was one of endless battles fought not for glory, but for the preservation of life itself. And so, whenever the sky rumbled and the clouds gathered, the people knew that Thor was watching over them. In every crack of thunder, they felt his presence, a reminder that, no matter how dark the storm, there was always a force strong enough to stand against it. Thor was more than just a god, he was the protector of all that was good and true in the world, a force that would never falter, even when the storm was at its fiercest. In the golden halls of Asgard, where the gods held council and the fate of the worlds hung in balance, there was one figure whose presence brought a sense of calm, a gentle strength that no thunder or battle could overshadow. Frigg, the queen of Asgard, stood beside her husband Odin, not as a mere companion but as a force in her own right. She was the goddess of prophecy and fate, and though her voice was quiet, its power could shape the very threads of existence. Frigg knew things that others could not, seeing beyond the veils of time into the future, a future that she alone could glimpse with clarity. As Odin ventured into the unknown, seeking wisdom at any cost, Frigg stayed behind, guarding the heart of their world. She was the center that held everything together, the glue between the chaos of war, prophecy, and the lives of mortals. As his wife, she shared in Odin's burdens, understanding the weight of knowing too much, of foreseeing tragedy but being bound by the laws of fate. Frigg carried that heavy knowledge in silence, her love for her family strong enough to bear it, even when it tore at her heart. Her love for her family was more than devotion, it was a deep, unshakable bond that defined her. Frigg was the goddess of family, marriage, and motherhood, and it was in these roles that her greatest strength shone through. She cared for her children with the fierce protection of a mother who would do anything to shield them from harm. But even for a goddess, some things were beyond her control. She knew that her beloved son Balder, the shining god of light and purity, was fated to die. She could feel it in her bones, like a cold wind whispering through the halls of Asgard. Desperate to change what she knew was coming, Frigg traveled across the worlds, making every living thing promise not to harm her son. Stone and tree, beast and bird, all swore an oath that Balder would come to no harm. But even Frigg, with all her power, could not foresee everything. There was one thing she overlooked: mistletoe, small and seemingly harmless. It was this tiny oversight that would haunt her, the fragile thread on which her son's fate dangled. Balder's death would break Frigg's heart in a way that no words could capture. The one thing she feared most came to pass, despite all her efforts, despite all her foresight. In the end, even a mother's love could not alter the course of destiny. And when Loki, the trickster, used the mistletoe to orchestrate Balder's death, it was as if the light of the world itself was snuffed out. Frigg's grief was a storm too great to bear, a wound that would never truly heal. She had seen it coming, and yet, it still shattered her soul. But Frigg was more than just her grief. Her strength lay in her ability to carry on, even when everything seemed lost. She was not just a goddess of prophecy and fate, but a protector of the home, of the bonds that tie families together. She understood the power of love, of loyalty, and of sacrifice. In every household where the fire burned to keep the darkness at bay, Frigg's presence was felt. She was the warmth in the hearth, the gentle hand that soothed a child's fear, the steadfast guardian who watched over families with unwavering care. As the queen of Asgard, Frigg held a quiet power, one that didn't shout but spoke through her actions and her wisdom. She was not a warrior like Thor, nor did she seek the mysteries of the cosmos like Odin. Instead, she wielded the power of love, of patience, and of unbreakable resolve. The threads of fate that she spun were intricate and delicate, weaving together the lives of gods and men with the care of someone who knew that every decision, every moment, mattered. Frigg's role as the goddess of marriage and motherhood wasn't just symbolic. She represented the sacred bond between partners, the trust and understanding that kept the fabric of life from unraveling. In her, people saw the ideal of partnership, one of mutual respect and love, even when the weight of the world threatened to tear it apart. Frigg and Odin's relationship was far from simple. They were two beings of immense power and knowledge, each carrying the burden of their responsibilities in different ways. Yet, through it all, they remained bound to each other, a testament to the strength of their love. Frigg's association with motherhood extended beyond her own children. She was a mother figure to all who needed her protection. To the Germanic peoples, she was the one they turned to in times of hardship, when families faced sickness, loss, or separation. Mothers prayed to her for the safety of their children, and wives sought her blessing for their marriages. She was the embodiment of care, of nurturing, and of the quiet strength that holds everything together when it feels like it might fall apart. Yet, for all her grace and gentleness, Frigg was not a goddess to be underestimated. She understood the harshness of the world, the inevitability of loss, and the unchangeable nature of fate. But instead of railing against it, she embraced it, using her wisdom to guide those she loved through the storm. Even in the face of Balder's death, her grief did not break her, it transformed her, deepening the quiet strength that had always been at her core. Frigg's legacy was one of resilience. She taught the gods, and those who followed her, that even when fate cannot be altered, it can be faced with grace. That love, in all its forms, romantic, familial, maternal, is the strongest force in the universe. Even in her sorrow, Frigg remained a symbol of hope, of the enduring power of love to heal, to protect, and to carry on. In the end, Frigg's power was not in changing the future, but in shaping how those around her faced it. She was the steady hand that guided them through the darkest moments, reminding them that, even in loss, there is strength. Her story was not one of grand battles or dramatic victories, but of the quiet, unyielding love that kept the world from falling apart. And in that love, she found her greatest strength. Loki stood apart from the other gods, his presence a mixture of charm, chaos, and danger. His face wore a smile, but behind it lurked something wild, something unpredictable. He wasn't like Odin, the wise all-father, nor was he like Thor, the powerful protector. Loki was different, neither wholly good nor entirely evil. He walked the line between hero and villain, weaving in and out of stories like a shadow, never letting anyone get too close to understanding him. There was always something unsettling about Loki. Even when he helped the gods, there was an edge to his actions, as if beneath the surface, he was waiting for the right moment to strike. He was the god who could charm his way out of trouble, who could shift shapes and slip through the cracks of the world unnoticed. But no one ever truly trusted him. And perhaps that was his curse, to be needed, but never embraced. Loki's offspring, like him, carried the mark of something both terrifying and tragic. Each of his children seemed to represent a part of Loki that he could not control, a reflection of the chaos he kept buried beneath his clever words and quick wit. There was Fenrir, the great wolf, whose jaws would one day snap shut on the world itself. Hel, the queen of the underworld, half alive and half dead, ruled over the realm of the dead with a cold, distant gaze. And Jormungandr, the world serpent, coiled beneath the sea, growing so large that he encircled the earth, waiting for the day when he would rise and bring destruction. It was as if Loki's very blood carried with it the seeds of Ragnarök, the end of all things. And yet, there was something heartbreaking in this, too. Loki didn't choose his children's fates. Like him, they were cast in roles they couldn't escape. Fenrir, chained by the gods, had no choice but to hate them for his imprisonment. Hel, cast into the underworld, was fated to rule over the dead, her heart forever cold. And Jormungandr, left to grow beneath the waves, was destined to fight Thor in a battle that would end in both their deaths. The gods feared Loki's children because they knew that they were harbingers of doom. But perhaps, in some hidden corner of his heart, Loki feared them too. He knew what they represented, the destruction he couldn't prevent, the chaos he couldn't control. And as much as he loved his children, he couldn't save them from their destinies. In this, Loki's story was one of tragedy, a god who loved, but whose love always led to ruin. And then, there was the betrayal. It didn't happen all at once, it was a slow, inevitable unraveling. Loki's relationship with the gods had always been complicated. They tolerated him because they needed him. He had helped them countless times, using his cleverness to save them from impossible situations. But there was always a sense that Loki's loyalty was fragile, that he could turn on them if it suited him. The tipping point came with the death of Baldur, the shining god beloved by all. Loki, in his trickster nature, had grown resentful of the gods' love for Baldur. It wasn't enough for Loki to be clever or useful, he wanted to be seen, to be valued in the same way that Baldur was. And so, when the opportunity arose, Loki did what no one expected. He betrayed them all. When Frigg had made every living thing swear an oath not to harm Baldur, it was Loki who discovered the one thing she had overlooked, mistletoe. In a cruel twist, he fashioned a dart from the mistletoe and handed it to Baldur's blind brother, Hodr, to throw. In that moment, Loki sealed his fate. The dart struck Baldur, and the god of light fell dead. The gods were shattered. Their brightest hope, their most beloved, was gone. And it was Loki who had caused it. Loki's betrayal was not just the murder of Baldur, it was the breaking of something deeper, the trust that had, however fragile, kept him among the gods. There was no going back after this. Odin's grief was boundless, and Thor's rage burned hotter than any flame. The gods hunted Loki, knowing that his actions had set the stage for Ragnarök. But Loki's betrayal was more than just an act of spite or malice. There was a sense of inevitability to it, as if Loki himself had always been on a path that would lead to this moment. He was the trickster, the god of chaos, and chaos cannot be tamed or kept in check forever. It was as if Ragnarök had been written into the very fabric of Loki's being, and no matter how hard he tried to avoid it, he was always destined to bring about the end. When Loki was finally captured, the punishment was as cruel as his crime. The gods bound him in a cave, where a serpent dripped venom onto his face, causing him unbearable pain. His wife, Sigyn, stayed by his side, catching the venom in a bowl to ease his suffering, but every time she turned to empty the bowl, the venom would fall, and Loki would writhe in agony. His punishment was eternal, a fitting end for a god who had caused so much pain. But even in his torment, Loki's story wasn't over. For the day would come when he would break free from his chains, when the bonds that held him would snap, and the world would tremble. That day would be the beginning of Ragnarök, the final battle where the gods would meet their doom, and the world would be consumed in fire and darkness. Loki's betrayal, his pain, his children, all were part of a larger story, a story that had been unfolding since the beginning of time. And in the end, Loki was both the cause and the victim of that story. He was the trickster, the villain, and yet there was something deeply human in his flaws, in his need for recognition, in his love for his doomed children. His story was not one of simple good or evil, but of the complicated, tragic mix of both. And as the end of the world approached, it was Loki's shadow that loomed over everything, a reminder that chaos, once unleashed, could never be contained. Balder, the god of light, was beloved by all who knew him. His very presence brought warmth to the cold hearts of the gods, and his smile could turn the darkest day into a moment of peace. There was something almost otherworldly about him, a purity that shone through everything he did. He was the brightness in the heart of Asgard, a beacon of hope in a world filled with battles, schemes, and looming shadows. But even light can't escape fate. It began with a dream, a terrible, haunting vision that clung to Balder like the chill of winter's breath. He dreamed of his own death, and though he said nothing at first, the fear gnawed at him, growing heavier each night until it could no longer be ignored. He told the other gods, and they were stricken by the thought that Balder, their light, could be taken from them. His mother, Frigg, was determined to stop it. Driven by love and desperation, she went to every living thing in the world, asking them to swear an oath never to harm her son. Trees, rocks, animals, even the wind and fire, they all swore. It seemed that nothing could touch Balder now. He was safe. And so the gods, in their relief, turned the situation into a game. They would throw weapons at Balder, spears, rocks, swords, and laugh as everything bounced off him without leaving a mark. Balder, always good-natured, joined in, amused by their antics, happy to see his friends so carefree. But somewhere, watching from the shadows, was Loki. Loki, with his sharp eyes and sharper wit, had noticed something in Frigg's words. She had asked every living thing to swear an oath, but there was one small, insignificant plant she had overlooked, mistletoe. It was so fragile, so harmless, that she hadn't thought it necessary. But Loki thought otherwise. He went into the woods and found a sprig of mistletoe, fashioning it into a dart. The gods, still laughing and throwing objects at Balder, didn't notice as Loki approached Balder's blind brother, Hödr. He placed the mistletoe dart in Hödr's hand and whispered in his ear, guiding his arm. In innocence, not knowing what he held, Hödr threw the dart. It flew through the air, striking Balder squarely in the chest. The laughter stopped. Time itself seemed to freeze as Balder's face changed, his bright eyes filling with confusion and pain. He stumbled, and then, to everyone's horror, he fell. The god of light, their beloved Balder, lay dead on the ground. A terrible silence filled Asgard. No one could comprehend what had just happened. Balder, who was untouchable, who was the embodiment of life and light, was gone. Grief struck them like a wave, crashing down and leaving them breathless. His mother, Frigg, wailed with a sorrow so deep that even the stones seemed to weep with her. Odin, wise and knowing, felt a shadow pass over his heart. He understood, perhaps more than anyone, what this meant. The death of Balder wasn't just the loss of a god, it was the beginning of the end. Ragnarök, the prophecy that foretold the destruction of the gods, had always been on the horizon, a distant storm that they had hoped would never come. But now, with Balder gone, the first of many events had been set in motion. The storm was coming. The gods, not ready to accept this fate, tried to bring Balder back. They sent a messenger to Hel, the queen of the underworld, to beg for Balder's return. Hel, who ruled over the dead with an iron heart, agreed, but with one condition. If every living thing in the world could weep for Balder, she would release him. It seemed an easy task. Who wouldn't weep for Balder? And so, from the highest mountain to the deepest sea, everything wept. The trees shook their leaves in sorrow, the animals lowered their heads, and even the stones shed silent tears. Everything mourned the loss of Balder, everything except one. There was an old giantess, named Thok, who refused to shed a tear. "Let Hel keep what she has," she said coldly. The gods later suspected that Thok was Loki in disguise, once again playing his cruel games. But whatever the reason, the consequence was clear: Balder would remain in the underworld. This was the final blow. Hope, fragile as it was, shattered. With Balder trapped in Hel's cold embrace, the gods knew that Ragnarök could not be stopped. His death was the first thread in a tapestry of destruction that was now being woven. One by one, the events leading to the end of the world would unfold, and the gods would face their doom. But the grief over Balder's death was not just a loss for the gods, it was the loss of something more profound. Balder represented the goodness, the innocence that even in a world filled with conflict, still existed. He was the reminder that not everything was tainted by war and betrayal. His death was a sign that the world was changing, that the darkness was growing stronger, and the light was fading. The gods could no longer pretend that they were invincible. They had been hurt in a way they never thought possible. The realization that they were not beyond suffering, that they could lose what they held most dear, was a bitter truth they had to face. Balder's death wasn't just a tragedy, it was a warning. A warning that the end was near, and that no matter how hard they fought, they could not outrun their fate. Loki's role in Balder's death only solidified his place as the bringer of chaos, the one who would lead the gods to their end. He had taken away their brightest light, and in doing so, had set the stage for the final act of their story. Yet, even as the gods mourned, there was a sense that Balder's death, as tragic as it was part of something larger, something inevitable. In the end, Balder's death wasn't just the end of his life, it was the beginning of the end for all the gods. And as they looked to the future, they knew that the day would come when they would face their final battle, and the world as they knew it would be no more. But in that moment, all they could feel was the crushing weight of loss, the unbearable sorrow of having lost their light, and the chilling knowledge that darkness was coming, and there was no escaping it. Freya, the goddess whose name carries the weight of love, fertility, and war, is not easily forgotten. Her presence is felt in the hearts of those who long, in the fields where new life blossoms, and on the blood-soaked battlefields where courage and fear clash under the same sky. She stands as a figure of beauty, yet her gaze is fierce, her heart understanding both the creation of life and its end. Her role as a goddess of love and fertility is celebrated in every corner of the land. She is the breath of spring, the whisper of life carried on the wind. The farmers, the mothers, and the lovers all called upon Freya, hoping she would bless their crops, their wombs, their unions. In the earth's rich soil, where seeds take root, her power was felt. In the warmth of a mother's embrace, in the fire of a lover's kiss, Freya was there, her spirit alive in every spark of new life. But Freya's domain was not confined to the tenderness of love or the sweetness of new life. She also walked among the dead, her presence a shadow on the battlefield. Warriors who fell with valor in their hearts were claimed by her, taken to her hall, Sessrumnir, in Folkvanger. Half of the slain belonged to Freya, a reminder that death and love are not opposites but intertwined, bound together by the mysteries of fate. She chose the bravest, not with pity or sorrow, but with respect, for she understood the sacrifice of life and the honor of death. Freya's magic was unlike any other. Sigr, the ancient and powerful sorcery she mastered, was a force that could shape the world. It was a magic of fate and transformation, of bending the threads of destiny itself. Freya was not merely a goddess who watched over the world, she had the power to change it. Her magic could heal, destroy, and alter the course of events. It was said that even Odin, the All-Father, learned the ways of Sigr from her, recognizing that her wisdom and magic were beyond measure. Her connection to the Vanir, the gods of fertility and nature, was deeply rooted in her identity. Unlike the Aesir, who thrived on power and conflict, the Vanir embodied the cycles of life and death, the ebb and flow of the natural world. Freya, though she lived among the Aesir after the Great War between the two tribes, never lost her ties to the Vanir. She carried their ancient wisdom within her, the understanding that love and war, life and death, are all part of the same circle. Her very existence was a bridge between the two worlds, bringing with her the beauty of both creation and destruction. Yet, for all her power and wisdom, Freya was not immune to sorrow. Her heart, which could ignite passion and kindle new life, could also break. There was one love that Freya cherished above all others, her husband, Odin. He was the light in her eyes, the warmth in her soul. But Odin disappeared, vanishing into the unknown, leaving Freya alone. It is said that she searched for him across the 9 worlds, her tears falling like drops of gold. And perhaps it was this loss, this unbearable longing, that gave her an understanding of the hearts of mortals, for she, too, knew the pain of love lost. But Freya was not one to be consumed by grief. She was a goddess of strength, and even as she wept for her lost love, she remained fierce, her spirit unbroken. She continued to fight for those who called upon her, to bring new life into the world, and to claim the bravest souls on the battlefield. She was a protector, a mother, and a warrior, all bound into one. Her necklace, Brisingamen, was said to be the most beautiful in all the worlds. Crafted by dwarves, it shone with a brilliance that matched Freya's own beauty. But it was more than just an ornament. It was a symbol of her power, her allure, and the strength that lay within her. She wore it into battle as a reminder that beauty and strength could live side by side, that one did not diminish the other. Freya's chariot, drawn by 2 cats, moved gracefully across the sky. Cats, often seen as mysterious and independent, mirrored the nature of the goddess they carried. They were creatures of the night, of silent strength and subtle power, much like Freya herself. Wherever her chariot went, it left behind a trace of her presence, a reminder that love, fertility, and war were always close at hand, that life and death could change in an instant. There are many stories of Freya's courage, of her standing fearless in the face of giants and enemies, of her using her wit and magic to protect her people. But perhaps the most powerful thing about her was her ability to hold the beauty of life and the harshness of death within her heart without flinching. She knew that to love was to risk loss, that to bring life was to accept death, and yet she embraced it all, fierce in her love and unyielding in her strength. And every life brought into the world, and every battle fought with honor, and every tear shed for love lost, Freya's presence is felt. She is the goddess who understands that life is both beautiful and brutal, that love can heal and break, and that death is not the end, but a continuation of the story. She stands as a reminder that even in the face of sorrow, there is always strength, always hope, always the possibility of new life, new love, and new beginnings. Freyr, the god whose very name echoes the promise of life and abundance, was more than just a deity to the ancient Germanic peoples. He was the warmth of the sun on the soil, the gentle rain on the fields, and the whisper of the harvest ready to be gathered. His presence was felt in every sprouting seed, every full grain, and every prosperous home. The people looked to him not just as a god, but as the source of their survival, their wealth, and their hope. Freyr was not only the god of fertility and agriculture, he was the guardian of prosperity. His blessings meant full barns and bountiful harvests, the birth of children, and the growth of wealth in both the earth and in the hearts of his followers. He was the embodiment of life's good fortune, and his favor was the difference between famine and feast, between barren land and flourishing fields. He was a Vanir god, born from a lineage that valued the cycles of nature, the ebb and flow of seasons, the nurturing of life in all its forms. Freyr, though later living among the Aesir, always carried with him the Vanir's intimate connection to the natural world. The rhythm of nature was his pulse, the turning of the seasons his heartbeat. He didn't rule over nature from afar, but rather, he was a part of it, his spirit intertwined with the forces that govern growth and life. In the fields, as the farmers toiled under the sun, they would whisper his name, hoping that Freyr would bless their crops, that his power would reach into the soil and coax the seeds into sprouting. They believed that it was Freyr who made the land rich and the trees heavy with fruit. Without him, the earth would be dry, the plants withered, and the people would starve. He was their lifeline, their protector, and they honored him with every harvest. But Freyr's gifts were not just of the earth, they extended to the heart and hearth. He was the god who watched over families, ensuring their prosperity not just in wealth, but in love and unity. In the halls of kings, it was Freyr's name that was invoked to bring peace and harmony, to ensure that the lands would flourish under wise and prosperous rule. Kingship, in Freyr's eyes, was not about power but about care for the land, for the people, for the future. A good king, in Freyr's name, was one who could nurture his kingdom as Freyr nurtured the earth. Freyr's connection to the elves, the mysterious beings who lived in Alfheim, further deepened his association with prosperity and fertility. The elves, like Freyr, were beings of life and growth, tied to the natural world in ways that even the gods could not fully understand. Freyr's relationship with the elves was one of respect and mutual care, for they shared his love for the earth and its bounty. It was said that Freyr was given Alfheim as a gift, a kingdom of beauty and fertility that mirrored his own divine powers. The elves honored Freyr, and in return, he blessed their lands, ensuring that their realm would forever flourish. Freyr's power, though gentle in nature, was not without strength. He was a god of kingship, and with that came the responsibility of protecting the prosperity he had created. When peace was threatened, Freyr would not hesitate to defend what was his. His sword, a weapon said to fight on its own, was a symbol of this. But it was not the sword that defined Freyr, it was his willingness to sacrifice even his own strength for love. Freyr's love for Gerd, the giantess whose beauty captured his heart, was a tale that spoke of his true nature. For her, Freyr gave up his mighty sword, choosing love over power, vulnerability over invincibility. It was a choice that showed the depth of his character, his belief that life and love were worth any sacrifice. Even though it was foretold that, without his sword, he would fall in the final battle of Ragnarök, Freyr made his choice without hesitation. His love for Gerd, his desire to bring life and peace, was stronger than any fear of death. The story of Freyr's sacrifice resonated deeply with his followers. It was a reminder that prosperity was not just about what one possessed, but about what one was willing to give. Freyr's generosity, his willingness to give up his greatest weapon for love, was the ultimate expression of his role as a god of fertility and kingship. For Freyr, to rule was to care, and to care was to give, even if it meant sacrificing everything. Freyr's place among the gods was one of quiet strength. While others may have been known for their might in battle or their wisdom in counsel, Freyr's power lay in the life he brought, the peace he nurtured, and the love he inspired. His followers knew that without him, the world would be barren, both in the fields and in the heart. They honored him not just with offerings and prayers, but with every seed planted, every child born, every act of love shared. In the winter months, when the earth was cold and the crops lay dormant, the people would look to Freyr, believing that he would return with the warmth of the sun, bringing life back to the land. They trusted in him, knowing that even in the darkest times, Freyr's power would bring them through. And when the first buds of spring appeared, they would offer thanks, knowing that it was Freyr who had brought life back from the brink of death. Freyr's legacy is one of life, love, and sacrifice. He is the god who gives without asking, who nurtures without expecting anything in return. His strength lies not in his sword, but in his heart, in his ability to see the beauty in the world and to fight for it with all that he has. He is the warmth of the sun, the richness of the earth, and the love that binds families together. Freyr is the god who reminds us that true prosperity is not found in gold or power, but in the life we bring into the world and the love we share with others. Tyr, the god of war and justice, stood tall among the gods of Asgard. But he wasn't just a warrior, fierce in battle. He was something far greater. He was the embodiment of honor and sacrifice. In a world where strength and cunning often ruled, Tyr's greatness came not from how many battles he fought, but from the choices he made, choices that required more courage than any sword could wield. Tyr's name was spoken in hushed reverence by those who sought justice, for he was the god who held the balance of law and order in his hands. The warriors might have looked to Odin for wisdom and Thor for protection, but when it came to truth, fairness, and the rules that held society together, they looked to Tyr. His presence was a reminder that even in a world filled with chaos and war, there had to be principles, there had to be someone who would stand for what was right, even when it was hard. The most heart-wrenching tale of Tyr is the story of his sacrifice, and it's one that echoes through the ages. The gods had long been troubled by Fenrir, the great wolf. Born of Loki's trickery, Fenrir grew at an alarming rate, and soon even the gods feared his strength. They knew that the day would come when Fenrir would break free and bring destruction upon the world, but until then, he had to be bound. But Fenrir was no ordinary wolf. His cunning matched his power, and he would not allow himself to be chained without a fight. The gods forged chains of immense strength, thinking they could outmatch the beast's might. But Fenrir snapped them like threads. Again, they crafted heavier, more magical chains, yet Fenrir broke through those as well. The gods were at their wits' end, until the dwarves, with their unmatched skill, crafted a binding so strong and magical that even Fenrir's strength couldn't break it. This new chain, called Gleipnir, was light and smooth, made of impossible things: fish's breath, the sound of a cat's footfall, the roots of mountains. It looked fragile, but it held the power to bind Fenrir for all time. Fenrir, however, was no fool. He sensed the gods' fear, and before he allowed himself to be bound by Gleipnir, he demanded a show of trust. He would only permit the binding if one of the gods placed their hand in his mouth as a pledge of good faith. He knew the gods would not risk losing their hand unless they truly intended to release him. Silence fell upon the gods. Each one looked to the other, waiting for someone to step forward, but none did. The cost was too high, the risk too great. In that moment, it was Tyr who stepped forward, his eyes filled with resolve. Without hesitation, he extended his hand to Fenrir, placing it between the wolf's powerful jaws. Tyr knew what was coming. He knew that once the chain tightened around Fenrir, the beast would bite down in anger and fury. As the gods bound Fenrir with Gleipnir, the wolf fought and struggled, but for the first time, the bindings held. Realizing he had been tricked, Fenrir's rage boiled over, and with a single, brutal snap, he severed Tyr's hand. The pain must have been excruciating, but Tyr did not cry out. He stood firm, watching as the gods completed their task, his face a mask of unflinching resolve. Tyr had given his hand for the greater good. He had sacrificed a part of himself to ensure the safety of the gods and the world they protected. It wasn't the loss of his hand that defined Tyr, but the strength of character it took to make such a sacrifice. He didn't act out of glory or fame. He didn't do it because it was expected of him. He did it because it was the right thing to do. In that single moment, Tyr showed the depth of his commitment to justice, to order, and to the greater good. The loss of his hand became a symbol of his courage and honor, a reminder that sometimes true strength lies in sacrifice, not in battle. Tyr's story is not just one of physical bravery but of moral fortitude. He represented a kind of justice that wasn't just about punishment or retribution, it was about fairness, about doing what was right even when it came at a personal cost. In a world of gods who often acted out of self-interest or pride, Tyr stood apart. His sense of duty, his unwavering dedication to the law, made him a god not of power, but of principle. And though he was the god of war, Tyr's war was not one fought with weapons alone. It was a war of values, of maintaining order in a world that constantly threatened to descend into chaos. He was the one who reminded the gods and mortals alike that there had to be rules, there had to be justice, or everything would fall apart. The image of Tyr with his missing hand became a lasting symbol among the people who worshipped him. His sacrifice was not just a story, it was a lesson, a reminder that sometimes, to preserve the greater good, we must be willing to give up something of ourselves. It is a message that resonates even today, in a world where justice can often seem hard to find. Tyr's story teaches us that justice isn't easy, it requires courage, sacrifice, and an unwavering commitment to doing what is right, no matter the cost. Tyr may have lost his hand that day, but in doing so, he gained something far greater, the eternal respect of gods and men. His name became synonymous with justice, not because of his strength in battle, but because of his strength of character. Tyr's story lives on as a reminder that true honor comes not from victory, but from sacrifice, from standing firm in the face of fear, and from doing what is right, even when it hurts. In the cold, shadowy corners of ancient myths, where frost clung to the earth and the sky stretched out in icy stillness, the giants, known as Jotnar, were born. They were not mere monsters, but ancient beings, shaped by the wild, untamed forces of the world. Before the gods took their thrones in Asgard, before Odin's wisdom and Thor's hammer, there were the giants. Their origins lay in the raw, primordial chaos that existed before the world as we know it took form. The giants were not just one kind, they came in many forms, some fierce and terrifying, others wise and enigmatic. They were the children of the cosmos itself, emerging from the primal clash of fire and ice that created the universe. Ymir, the first of the giants, was born in the void of Ginnungagap, where the fiery realm of Muspelheim met the freezing waters of Niflheim. From his massive body, the gods would later craft the world, but Ymir's legacy remained alive in his descendants, the Jotnar. The giants were deeply connected to the natural world, the wild, untamed, and dangerous parts of it. They lived in Jotunheim, a realm far from the ordered world of the gods. Their land was rugged and desolate, filled with towering mountains, icy rivers, and endless forests. It was a place of extremes, where survival required strength, cunning, and a relentless spirit. Among the most legendary of the Jotnar was Skadi, a giantess who stood out not for her destructive nature but for her fierce independence and strength. Skadi's father, the giant Jotzi, was killed by the gods, and in her grief and anger, she donned armor and weapons and marched to Asgard to demand vengeance. But Skadi was not simply a figure of fury, she was also a symbol of the mountains, of winter's harsh beauty and resilience. She demanded justice, not with violence, but with dignity. The gods, recognizing her power and determination, offered her compensation. They allowed her to choose a husband from among them, though she had to choose only by looking at their feet. Skadi's choice led her to marry the god Njord, and though their union was one of the most unusual, it was a testament to the complex relationships between gods and giants. Skadi was not content to be tied to the gods' world, however. Her heart belonged to the mountains, to the wild places. She and Njord could not agree, he longed for the sea, while she longed for the snowy peaks. Their separation was inevitable, and Skadi returned to her beloved mountains, forever tied to the cold winds and frozen cliffs. Yet her presence was not one of hostility, she was revered for her strength, her connection to the earth, and her ability to walk between the worlds of gods and giants. Thrym, another giant, was driven by a more direct and humorous ambition. He once stole Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, hoping to use it as a bargaining chip to force the gods to give him Freya as his bride. Thrym's desire for power led him to this reckless scheme, unaware of the cunning that the gods would employ to thwart him. Thor, disguised as Freya, and accompanied by Loki, ventured to Thrym's hall, where the giant waited eagerly for his prize. Thrym was delighted, thinking he had won, but he didn't realize the mistake until it was too late. Thor, once his hammer was placed back in his hands, unleashed his fury, and Thrym's ambitions crumbled along with his life. His story, though tragic, added a strange sense of humor to the deadly seriousness of the gods' battles with the giants, showing that not all giants were driven by wisdom or purpose. Some were driven by simple greed or desire. The Jotnar were more than just enemies of the gods. They were complex beings, some bound by fate to clash with the gods, while others sought out connections, even love, across the divide. Their stories often reflect the tension between chaos and order, between the wild and the civilized. In a world where the gods represented law, culture, and protection, the giants were the forces that could not be tamed. But even in their conflicts, there was respect. Loki, the trickster, was perhaps the greatest bridge between these two worlds. Born of giants but living among the gods, Loki embodied the tensions and connections between these two opposing forces. His actions, often destructive, were born of his nature as a creature of chaos, always challenging the gods and pushing against the boundaries they set. His offspring, Fenrir, Jormungandr, and Hel, were each giants in their own right, destined to play key roles in the destruction that was foretold to come. Fenrir, the great wolf, was prophesied to devour Odin during Ragnarök. Jormungandr, the world serpent, was fated to battle Thor, and their fight would end in both their deaths. Hel, the queen of the underworld, ruled over the realm of the dead, her very existence a reminder that death, too, was a force the gods could not control. Despite their often adversarial relationship with the gods, the giants were not portrayed as evil. They were primal, raw, and unpredictable, embodying the forces of nature that the gods could never fully master. The gods needed the giants as much as the giants needed the gods. Without the chaos of the Jotnar, the order of the gods would have no meaning. It was this eternal struggle, this push and pull between the forces of creation and destruction, that defined much of Germanic mythology. The giants' origins, their existence in Jotunheim, and their relationships with the gods all point to a deeper truth about the nature of the world. The gods may have built Asgard, crafted Midgard, and imposed order, but they could never truly banish chaos. The giants, with their immense power and connection to the earth, reminded the gods, and the people who told these stories, that nature, fate, and time were forces beyond anyone's control. Through the giants, the myths tell us that life is not about victory or defeat. It's about balance, about learning to live with the chaos, the storms, the winters, and the inevitable end that comes for all things. Skadi, Thrym, and the other Jotnar represent that wild, untamable part of the world that will always exist, no matter how hard we try to order it. And in that, there is a certain kind of beauty, a reminder that life, in all its chaos, is worth living. In the heart of the mountains, where shadows dance with the flicker of firelight, there lies a world of magic and wonder, the domain of the dwarves. These stout, sturdy beings, masters of their craft, shape not just the earth, but the very essence of power in their underground forges. Each dwarf carries a spark of creativity, an unyielding spirit that drives them to transform raw materials into legendary treasures. Their world is a tapestry of ingenuity, where every chisel strike resonates with the heartbeat of creation. The dwarves were not mere miners or laborers, they were artists, sculptors, and inventors. With hands that were rough and strong, they worked tirelessly, bringing forth wonders that would echo through the ages. The mountains were their canvas, and with the heat of the forge and the precision of their tools, they crafted masterpieces that would change the fates of gods and men alike. One of the most famous artifacts born from the hands of dwarves was Mjolnir, the hammer of Thor. This was no ordinary weapon, it was a symbol of protection and strength. Crafted with love and care, it could shatter mountains and summon storms. When the gods approached the dwarves, seeking a weapon worthy of the thunder god, they knew they had to create something extraordinary. With every strike of the hammer on the anvil, sparks flew like stars in the night sky, illuminating the depths of their subterranean world. When Thor wielded Mjolnir, it was as if the very might of the mountains flowed through him. The bond between the hammer and the god was a testament to the dwarf's skill, a reminder that true power comes not just from strength, but from the heart and spirit of its creator. But Mjolnir was not the only treasure the dwarves produced. They also forged Gungnir, Odin's spear. This was a weapon of unmatched precision, crafted to ensure that no foe could ever escape its point. Gungnir was adorned with runes, each carved with meticulous care, imbuing it with magic and strength. It would never miss its mark, a reflection of Odin's wisdom and determination. The dwarves understood the importance of each creation. They were not just making weapons, but symbols of the god's will. Every artifact told a story, a narrative of courage, fate, and the bond between creator and creation. And then there was Draupnir, the ring that held the power of endless wealth. Forged from the heart of the earth, it dripped gold like the dawn breaking over the mountains. Draupnir had the power to multiply itself, creating new riches every ninth night. This magical ring represented the dwarves' deep connection to prosperity and abundance. It was not merely an object, it was a gift from the earth itself, a reminder that true wealth is not about the gold and silver we possess, but the friendships, loyalty, and love we build along the way. The dwarves' craftsmanship extended far beyond weapons and riches. They created items that carried deeper meanings. Each piece was infused with care, reflecting the dwarves' understanding of the world around them. Their forges echoed with stories of sacrifice, honor, and loyalty. In a world filled with chaos, the dwarves stood as the embodiment of stability. They worked tirelessly, driven by an unwavering commitment to their craft and their gods. Yet, despite their incredible talents, the dwarves often worked in the shadows, away from the spotlight of the grand tales told by skalds and poets. They were content to remain in their realm, allowing the gods and heroes to bask in the glory of the artifacts they created. But their creations were essential to the fate of the cosmos. Without the dwarves, the gods would have lacked the tools needed to battle the giants, protect their realms, and uphold order in the world. The relationship between the dwarves and the gods was complex and deeply intertwined. The gods relied on the dwarves for their most important artifacts, but the dwarves also sought respect and recognition. They wanted their creations to be remembered, to be celebrated as symbols of courage and craftsmanship. In many ways, they were the unsung heroes of mythology, their legacies etched into the very fabric of the stories that would be told for generations to come. As the stories of the gods unfolded, the dwarves remained ever present, quietly shaping the destinies of those who would eventually wield their creations. They poured their hearts into every piece, knowing that with each hammer strike, they were leaving their mark on the world. The echoes of their labor rang out like a heartbeat, a reminder that even in a realm filled with towering giants and powerful gods, it was the dwarves, small in stature but grand in spirit, who truly held the keys to creation. In the tales of the dwarves, we find not only the heart of craftsmanship but also the essence of life itself. They remind us that our gifts, whether they be talents, kindness, or creativity, are meant to be shared. Each creation tells a story of passion, sacrifice, and love, an eternal thread woven into the fabric of existence. The dwarves, with their unwavering dedication and profound understanding of the world, teach us that every act of creation is an act of love, and every artifact carries the dreams and hopes of its maker. Their stories linger in the air like the smoke rising from their forges, a testament to the beauty of creation and the importance of honoring those who shape our world. In a time when the gods and giants clashed, the dwarves were the quiet architects of fate, their hearts beating in rhythm with the stories of heroes, ensuring that the legacy of their creations would never fade away. In the heart of the ancient forests, where sunlight dances through the leaves and shadows whisper secrets, live the elves, creatures of enchantment and mystery. The elves embody the beauty of nature, their presence woven into the very fabric of the world. They are divided into two distinct kinds, the light elves and the dark elves, each with their own stories, emotions, and destinies. Light elves, or Ljozulfar, are beings of light and beauty. They dwell in Alfheim, a realm bathed in warmth and radiance. Picture a place where the sun never sets, where flowers bloom in vibrant colors and the air is filled with laughter. The light elves are often seen as guardians of this paradise. With their shimmering skin and ethereal grace, they move like whispers through the trees, bringing life and joy wherever they go. Their laughter rings like chimes in the wind, echoing the happiness they spread. These elves are closely linked to nature, often considered protectors of the forests and all living things. Their love for the earth runs deep, and they have a unique bond with animals and plants. They nurture the land, ensuring that life flourishes. The light elves possess magic that can heal wounds and mend broken hearts, a reflection of their pure, kind spirits. When they sing, their voices blend harmoniously with the sounds of nature, creating a melody that resonates with the very soul of the world. They embody hope and light, reminding everyone that beauty exists even in the darkest of times. Yet, in stark contrast, the dark elves, or Dalkalfar, inhabit the shadows, residing in a realm that lies beneath the earth. Their domain is a place of mystery, where darkness reigns and secrets are kept. Unlike their light counterparts, the dark elves are often seen as enigmatic and misunderstood. They are not evil, but rather guardians of hidden knowledge and ancient wisdom. Their skin is dark, like the night sky, and their eyes shine like stars. They are skilled craftsmen, forging treasures in their underground forges, and possess a profound understanding of magic. Dark elves are closely connected to the mysteries of the earth. They hold the power to manipulate the unseen forces that govern life, weaving spells that can change fate. They are keepers of secrets, understanding that knowledge can be both a gift and a burden. Their existence teaches us that not all light is good, nor is all darkness evil. Just as the sun and moon are essential for balance, the dark elves play a crucial role in maintaining the harmony of the universe. The division between light and dark elves is not merely a physical separation, it reflects the complex nature of existence itself. Both kinds of elves possess their own strengths and vulnerabilities. The light elves shine brightly, illuminating the path for others, while the dark elves remind us of the depth and richness of shadows. They are two sides of the same coin, interconnected and interdependent. In the hearts of both light and dark elves, there lies a longing for understanding and acceptance. The light elves, with their gentle hearts, wish to share their joy with the world, while the dark elves seek to be recognized for their wisdom and the beauty that lies within their shadows. Their stories intertwine, forming a tapestry of emotions that speaks to the human experience. Legends tell of times when light and dark elves came together, united by a common cause. In moments of crisis, when the balance of the world was threatened, both groups put aside their differences to protect what they cherished. They learned that love could bridge the divide between them. In those rare instances, the forests glowed with an otherworldly light, and the air hummed with magic, creating a sense of unity that resonated throughout the realms. However, misunderstandings often led to fear and conflict between the two. The light elves, with their carefree nature, sometimes failed to grasp the depth of the dark elves' existence. Conversely, the dark elves, shrouded in mystery, were often viewed with suspicion. Yet, beneath the surface, there was a yearning for connection, a desire to learn from one another. This longing for understanding mirrors the human condition, where people often struggle to embrace differences. Just like the elves, we find ourselves caught between light and dark, joy and sorrow, acceptance and fear. In the tales of the elves, we see reflections of our own journeys, reminding us that every shade of existence holds beauty and value. Through the ages, the stories of light and dark elves have been passed down, illuminating the hearts of those who listen. These tales serve as a reminder that acceptance and love can overcome fear and prejudice. The elves teach us that, although we may be different, our essence connects us all. Their stories resonate with our own struggles and triumphs, offering hope in the face of adversity. In a world where divisions often seem insurmountable, the legends of light and dark elves remind us of the importance of unity. They inspire us to look beyond our differences, to seek understanding, and to embrace the beauty that lies within our complexities. Their existence serves as a beacon of hope, illuminating the path toward compassion and acceptance. The light elves and dark elves stand as powerful symbols of the dualities within us all. They remind us that we are capable of great kindness and profound wisdom, that light can shine through the shadows, and that every being, regardless of their appearance, has a unique story to tell. In celebrating the rich tapestry of life, we honor the legacy of the elves and the beauty of our shared humanity. The clash of swords echoed through the air, a symphony of chaos and bravery. The battlefield was a canvas of valor and sacrifice, where warriors fought with every ounce of strength they had. In the midst of this turmoil, a group of fierce and radiant women appeared, gliding through the smoke and carnage like ethereal spirits. These were the Valkyries, the choosers of the slain, sent by Odin himself to decide the fate of the fallen. The sight of a Valkyrie was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Clad in shimmering armor that reflected the flickering flames of battle, they possessed an otherworldly beauty. Their hair flowed like liquid gold, and their eyes sparkled with the wisdom of ages. Each Valkyrie was a warrior, skilled in combat and strategy, yet they were also guardians of honor, tasked with the sacred duty of selecting those who were worthy to join the halls of Valhalla. As the Valkyries soared above the chaos, their presence brought a sense of calm amidst the storm. They moved with grace and purpose, their voices carrying a haunting melody that seemed to cut through the clamor of battle. With each wave of their hands, they guided the spirits of fallen warriors, lifting them from the field and leading them to a new destiny. It was a moment of both sadness and celebration, as the brave souls who had fought valiantly were granted a second chance at glory. Valhalla, the grand hall of the slain, awaited them. It was a magnificent place, filled with laughter, camaraderie, and the promise of endless feasting. Here, the warriors known as Einherjar would train and prepare for the ultimate battle against the forces of chaos. They would fight alongside Odin and the other gods during Ragnarök, the cataclysmic event that would reshape the world. The prospect of Valhalla filled the hearts of warriors with hope, inspiring them to fight bravely and fearlessly, knowing that a glorious afterlife awaited them. But the role of the Valkyries was not just about selecting warriors for Valhalla, it was also about honoring their sacrifices. Each choice was imbued with significance, a reflection of the bravery displayed in battle. The Valkyries understood the weight of their decisions, knowing that the lives of these warriors depended on their judgments. Their task was a solemn responsibility, blending compassion with duty. The Valkyries were more than mere fighters, they were also guardians of the fallen stories. Each warrior had a tale to tell, a life full of hopes and dreams. The Valkyries listened to their whispers, carrying the echoes of their lives into the afterlife. This connection was profound, reminding the living that the spirits of the fallen would never be forgotten. The Valkyries honored these stories, ensuring that the legacy of each warrior lived on in the hearts of those they left behind. As the Valkyries guided the Einherjar to Valhalla, the warriors found solace in their presence. They were not just chosen to fight, they were welcomed into a family forged through shared struggles and triumphs. In Valhalla, laughter filled the air as warriors reunited with old friends, sharing tales of their bravery and valor. The bonds formed in life were strengthened in death, a testament to the deep connections that existed among those who had faced the fires of battle together. But the Valkyries also carried a weight of sorrow. Each battle claimed lives, and with every soul they escorted to Valhalla, there was a reminder of the sacrifices made. The tears of the Valkyries fell like rain upon the battlefield, mourning the loss of brave souls who had fought with honor. In their hearts, they felt the pain of loss and the burden of their choices. Yet, through this sorrow, there was also a fierce pride in the warriors they honored. Each soul they brought to Valhalla had faced the chaos with courage, and that spirit was worth celebrating. As Ragnarök loomed on the horizon, the Valkyries prepared for the ultimate challenge. They would lead the Einherjar into the greatest battle ever fought, a clash that would determine the fate of gods and men alike. The Valkyries understood the gravity of this moment. It was not just a fight for survival, but a fight for honor, for the very essence of what it meant to be brave. In those moments of preparation, the Valkyries stood alongside the warriors, instilling courage in their hearts. They spoke of the honor of fighting for something greater than oneself, of standing united against the chaos that threatened to consume the world. The bond between the Valkyries and the Einherjar deepened as they recognized their shared destiny. Together, they would face the darkness, side by side, proving that even in the face of overwhelming odds, hope could prevail. As the echoes of battle began to fade, the Valkyries continued their sacred duty, knowing that their choices shaped the very fabric of fate. Each warrior they chose was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a reminder that in the heart of darkness, light can still shine through. Their role as the choosers of the slain was not just about selecting who would fight, it was about honoring the lives of those who had faced the ultimate test. In this dance between life and death, the Valkyries became symbols of hope, reminding all who listened that bravery and honor would always be rewarded. Their stories echoed through the ages, carried on the winds and whispered in the rustling leaves. The Valkyries represented the spirit of warriors, the strength found in unity, and the belief that, in the end, love and honor would always triumph over despair. The Valkyries, with their fierce hearts and unwavering spirits, would forever remain guardians of the fallen, ensuring that their bravery would never be forgotten. They were the embodiment of hope, reminding the world that even in the darkest moments, light could still prevail. In a hidden grove, where the soft light of the sun danced through the trees, three powerful figures gathered. They were the Norns, ancient beings who held the threads of fate in their hands. Each Norn was unique, yet together they formed a perfect harmony that shaped the destinies of gods and men alike. Urd, the wise, embodied the past, Verdandi, the vibrant, represented the present, and Skuld, the mysterious, foresaw the future. As they worked, their whispers echoed through the ages, weaving the tapestry of life with the delicate threads of existence. Urd, with her silver hair and deep-set eyes, was the oldest of the Norns. She was the keeper of memories, holding the stories of all who had come before. Every scar and triumph, every joy and sorrow, lay in her embrace. Urd's role was crucial. She reminded the others of the lessons learned from the past. In her presence, warriors found comfort, knowing their sacrifices were honored, and their legacies would live on. She often reflected on the choices made and the consequences that followed, understanding that every action echoed through time. Verdandi, full of life and energy, was the second Norn. She danced in the moment, vibrant and ever-changing. Her laughter could brighten the darkest days. Verdandi brought clarity to the present, urging both gods and mortals to embrace their lives fully. In her hands, the threads of now shimmered like golden rays of sunlight. She inspired courage in warriors before battles, reminding them to seize every heartbeat. With her by their side, they felt empowered, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The present was fleeting, and Verdandi encouraged all to cherish each second, to fill it with love, laughter, and bravery. Skuld, the youngest, carried an air of mystery. Her dark hair framed her face, and her eyes sparkled with hidden knowledge. As the Norn of the future, she wove the possibilities that lay ahead. Her visions were often clouded, as the future was filled with uncertainty, but they held great power. Skuld could see the paths branching out before each soul, understanding how choices could lead to myriad outcomes. The weight of her role was heavy, as she realized that her visions shaped not only the lives of mortals, but the gods themselves. In moments of doubt, she would whisper words of hope, reminding everyone that while the future was unknown, it was also filled with endless potential. Together, the Norns represented the flow of time, past, present, and future. They wove their threads in a delicate dance, a balance of memory, experience, and hope. Their presence was felt in every heartbeat, every decision, as they guided the fates of gods and men. They understood that destiny was not a fixed path, but a living tapestry, ever evolving with each choice made. Every thread they wove connected to others, forming an intricate web of relationships, struggles, and triumphs. In the quiet moments of their work, the Norns reflected on the weight of fate. The choices of individuals rippled outward, influencing those around them. A single act of kindness could spark a movement, while a moment of anger could lead to devastation. They saw how the lives of heroes and villains intertwined, each one influencing the other. The Norns felt the weight of their responsibilities, knowing that they were not merely observers but active participants in the grand design of existence. The Norns' influence reached the gods in Asgard, where the mighty Thor sought their guidance before facing his next battle. He arrived at their grove, heart heavy with the burden of protecting Midgard. The air crackled with anticipation as he knelt before the Norns, seeking wisdom. Word spoke first, recounting tales of past heroes who had faced similar challenges. Her stories filled Thor with determination, reminding him that bravery had triumphed before. Verdandi smiled, encouraging him to trust in his strength and the bonds he shared with his friends. Her warmth infused him with hope, a flame that could not be extinguished. And Skuld, with her soft voice, hinted at the choices he would face, urging him to remain true to himself. With each encounter, the Norns offered clarity and perspective, guiding not just Thor but all who sought their wisdom. They understood that fate was a tapestry woven with love, loss, joy, and pain. Each thread held a story, and together they created a masterpiece that defined existence. The Norns were not just weavers, they were the heart of life itself. The power of the Norns extended to mortals as well. A young girl, trembling with fear, sought their presence in the quiet of the night. She had lost her family in a tragic fire and felt utterly alone. She called out to the Norns, her voice a soft whisper carried by the wind. Word appeared before her, enveloping the girl in warmth and compassion. She shared stories of those who had faced unimaginable loss and yet found a way to rise again. Verdandi, glowing with life, encouraged the girl to embrace her pain but also to seek joy in the world around her. And Skuld offered a glimpse of the future, where hope bloomed anew and love found a way to heal even the deepest wounds. The girl felt the weight of her sorrow lift, replaced by a flicker of hope. With the Norns' guidance, she understood that while her past shaped her, it did not define her future. She could forge her own path, one filled with resilience, love, and light. In that moment, the Norns reminded her that destiny was not something to fear, but something to embrace with open arms. As the stories of the Norns spread, their influence grew. People began to understand that their lives were interwoven, a shared experience of struggles and triumphs. They learned to value the lessons of the past, to seize the present, and to embrace the uncertainties of the future. The Norns became symbols of hope and resilience, reminding everyone that they held the power to shape their destinies, one choice at a time. In the grand tapestry of existence, the Norns remained the silent guardians, weaving threads of fate with love and purpose. Their presence was a gentle reminder that every moment mattered, that every soul was a vital part of the intricate design. They whispered encouragement to those who faltered and shared wisdom with those who sought it. In their hands lay the stories of countless lives, a testament to the beauty of existence and the enduring power of hope. In a world where bravery met tragedy, the tale of Sigurd the Dragon Slayer unfolds, a saga filled with both glory and sorrow. Sigurd was not just a warrior, he was a hero destined for greatness. His journey began in a land shrouded in mystery, where the shadows of giants and dragons loomed large. Among them, the fearsome dragon Fafnir, once a man, had transformed into a creature of terror, guarding a treasure so vast it could make kings and break hearts. Fafnir's greed had twisted his soul, and he became a dragon, coiled around his hoard of gold and jewels. The treasure of the Nibelungs, sparkling with promise, was cursed. It was said that whoever laid claim to it would suffer. This curse hung over the treasure like a dark cloud, casting a shadow on anyone who dared to approach it. The tales warned of betrayal and loss, but for Sigurd, the call of adventure was too strong to ignore. Driven by fate, Sigurd set out on his quest to confront Fafnir. Armed with the legendary sword Gram, forged by the gods, he ventured into the dark forest where the dragon lay. As he approached the dragon's lair, the ground trembled beneath him, and the air thickened with the stench of sulfur. He could feel the weight of destiny on his shoulders. This was more than just a battle, it was a clash between light and darkness, courage and fear. When Sigurd finally faced Fafnir, he was struck by the dragon's size and the fierce intensity of its eyes. The beast hissed and spat fire, but Sigurd stood firm, heart pounding with determination. He remembered the stories of past heroes, the lessons learned from their victories and defeats. With a battle cry that echoed through the mountains, he charged, wielding Gram with all his might. The clash was deafening, a whirlwind of scales and steel, light and shadow. Sigurd fought with every ounce of strength, fueled by the desire to free the world from Fafnir's terror. In the midst of their fierce battle, Sigurd found a moment of clarity. He realized that the dragon was not merely a monster but a victim of his own greed. In that fleeting instant, Sigurd understood the heavy burden of desire. Fafnir was trapped, chained to his own treasure, consumed by the very thing that had given him power. With a swift strike, Sigurd plunged the sword into Fafnir's heart. The dragon let out a final, anguished roar that reverberated through the valley, shaking the ground and breaking the silence of ages. As Fafnir lay defeated, Sigurd felt a mixture of triumph and sorrow. He had won the battle, but at what cost? He had killed a creature that was once human, twisted by avarice. The treasure before him glittered enticingly, yet Sigurd knew the stories of its curse. As he approached the hoard, he could almost hear whispers in the air, warning him of the darkness that lay within the gold. But the lure was strong, and as he touched the treasures, a sense of foreboding washed over him. Sigurd claimed the treasure of the Nibelungs, but with it came the weight of the curse. The allure of riches was intoxicating, and he felt a flicker of greed ignite within him. What once was a noble quest began to tarnish. He returned to his people, celebrated as a hero, but the shadows of the dragon's curse clung to him like a shroud. The joy of victory turned bittersweet as envy and betrayal seeped into the hearts of those around him. Among the treasure, Sigurd found a ring and Veranot, which had once belonged to Fafnir. The ring promised wealth beyond measure, yet it also carried a heavy price. Sigurd wore it, feeling its power flow through him, but he was oblivious to the darkness it brought. His once innocent heart began to change, clouded by desires he never knew he had. As time passed, friends turned into foes. Allies became jealous of his wealth and fame. Sigurd's bravery began to tarnish under the weight of the treasure he had claimed. The greed that surrounded him cast a long shadow, leading to betrayal from those he once trusted. The treasure, instead of being a source of joy, became a curse, sowing discord among his kin. In the midst of this turmoil, a tragic love story unfolded. Sigurd met Brynhild, a fierce warrior maiden. Their connection was deep, forged in battles and dreams of a brighter future. However, the curse followed Sigurd, and misunderstandings and deceit drove them apart. The love that should have united them became a bitter reminder of the darkness that greed had wrought. Sigurd's heart ached as he saw Brynhild slip away, caught in the web of treachery spun by the curse of the Nibelungs. He realized that true treasure lay not in gold and jewels, but in the bonds forged between souls. The weight of his choices became unbearable, and he knew he had to confront the curse head-on. In a moment of clarity, Sigurd sought out Brynhild, pouring his heart out, revealing the pain that had come from his greed. But the shadows of the past loomed large, and their love could not break free from the chains of destiny. The tragic cycle continued as betrayal and loss spiraled around them, a painful reminder of the consequences of desire. The saga of Sigurd the Dragon Slayer is not just a tale of battles and treasures, it is a poignant reminder of the delicate balance between courage and greed, love and loss. Sigurd's journey teaches us that while heroes may conquer dragons, the true battle lies within, the struggle to choose what is right over what is easy, to seek the light amidst the shadows, and to hold on to the bonds that make us human. As the story of Sigurd echoes through the ages, it leaves behind a bittersweet melody, a reflection on the beauty and tragedy of life. The dragon lay slain, but the true monster was the curse that lingered, haunting those who dared to chase the shimmering promise of wealth. Sigurd's legacy lives on, a reminder that the choices we make shape our destinies, for better or for worse, and that true heroism lies not just in slaying dragons, but in recognizing the treasures that reside in our hearts. The saga of the Volsungs weaves a tale that echoes through time, filled with heroism, love, and heart-wrenching tragedy. It begins with a man named Volsung, a brave warrior who founded a family destined for greatness. His lineage would come to face incredible challenges, betrayals, and heartache. This epic family story draws you in, each chapter filled with powerful emotions and lessons that resonate with the human experience. At the heart of this saga lies Sigurd, a hero whose name would become legendary. He was born to the Volsung line, destined for greatness, but also bound to face unimaginable struggles. From a young age, he exhibited extraordinary strength and courage, traits that would guide him through the trials that lay ahead. His father, Sigmund, raised him with tales of valor, teaching him the importance of honor and loyalty. Yet, fate had a darker path in store for Sigurd, a path laden with the weight of destiny. The tale takes a turn when Sigurd encounters the fierce warrior maiden, Brynhild. She was not just any woman, she was a Valkyrie, a chooser of the slain, a goddess in her own right. Brynhild was powerful and proud, fiercely loyal to those she loved. Her heart was both a fortress and a battlefield. When Sigurd met her, he was captivated by her strength and beauty, but their love story was anything but simple. Their passion ignited like a fire, bright and consuming. They made promises to each other, vowing to stand together against the world. However, fate intervened cruelly. Sigurd, under the influence of dark magic, was tricked into marrying Gudrun, a woman caught in the tangled web of the gods' desires. In a moment that shattered hearts, Sigurd and Brynhild's love was torn apart, leaving them both heartbroken and longing for what could have been. Gudrun, meanwhile, was a kind and gentle soul. She loved Sigurd deeply, but she could feel the weight of his heart being pulled elsewhere. As the two women became intertwined in a world of love and loyalty, betrayal began to brew. Brynhild, feeling scorned and betrayed, sought vengeance, her heart hardened by anger and despair. The love that once burned brightly was now a smoldering ash, the fire extinguished by betrayal and manipulation. In the midst of this turmoil, Gudrun's life took a tragic turn. She faced the specter of loss as her brothers fell in battle, and the weight of the world rested heavily upon her shoulders. She bore the grief of losing loved ones while trying to navigate a path filled with deception and heartache. The burden of her marriage to Sigurd became unbearable as the shadows of the past loomed large, haunting their every moment together. The tension reached its peak when Brynhild, consumed by her desire for revenge, plotted against Gudrun and Sigurd. In a chilling twist of fate, Brynhild's fury unleashed a storm of tragedy. Sigurd, noble and brave, met his end in a battle that shook the very foundations of their world. His death was a devastating blow to both women, a heart-wrenching reminder of the fragility of life and love. In that moment, the heart of the saga shattered into a million pieces, each one reflecting the deep sadness that had taken root in the lives of the Volsung family. As Brynhild and Gudrun were left to grapple with the aftermath of their choices, their lives became entangled in grief and sorrow. Brynhild, filled with remorse, saw how her thirst for vengeance had cost her not just Sigurd but her own soul. She chose to take her own life, believing it was the only way to find peace. In that tragic act, she sought to reunite with Sigurd in the afterlife, her heart aching for the love they once shared. Gudrun, heartbroken and alone, was left to pick up the pieces of her shattered life. She bore the weight of guilt, feeling responsible for the tragic fate of her family. In her sorrow, she tried to honor Sigurd's memory, but the shadows of betrayal continued to haunt her. The burden of her existence became almost unbearable, a constant reminder of the love lost and the hearts broken by fate's cruel hand. The saga of the Volsungs is a story that reminds us of the complexity of love and the fragility of life. Each character, caught in the web of their desires and choices, navigated a world filled with beauty and pain. The echoes of their laughter, the whispers of their promises, and the shadows of their betrayals linger in the air, leaving behind a haunting melody that resonates with our hearts. In the end, the tale of the Volsungs teaches us that love, in all its forms, is both a gift and a curse. It has the power to uplift and destroy, to heal and to break. As we reflect on the story of Brynhild and Gudrun, we are reminded of the strength it takes to love fiercely and the courage it requires to face the consequences of our choices. The legacy of the Volsungs lives on, a poignant reminder of the intertwining paths of love, loss, and the relentless pursuit of redemption. In the shadow of ancient halls, where the echoes of valor still linger, the tale of Beowulf unfolds, a story of bravery that stirs the heart and ignites the spirit. Beowulf, a name that resonates through the ages, stands as a symbol of courage, loyalty, and the relentless pursuit of glory. His adventures begin when word reaches him of a monster terrorizing the kingdom of the Danes. Grendel, a creature born of darkness, stalks the night, leaving devastation in his wake. With a heart full of determination and a mindset on heroism, Beowulf, a Geatish warrior, sets forth to confront this fearsome foe. As he sails across the waters, the very waves seem to whisper of destiny. Beowulf knows the risks he faces. He understands the weight of expectation that rests upon his shoulders. He is not merely fighting for himself, but for the people of the kingdom, for their hope and safety. Arriving at Heorot, the great mead hall, he is met with a mixture of awe and skepticism. The warriors gathered their share tales of Grendel's ferocity, and fear hangs thick in the air like a heavy fog. But Beowulf stands tall, his resolve unwavering. He promises the king, Hrothgar, that he will defeat the monster, not with weapons, but with his bare hands. In the silence of night, as the moon casts an eerie glow, Beowulf prepares for the battle of his life. He waits, muscles coiled like a spring, heart pounding with adrenaline and purpose. The tension is palpable, a heartbeat shared by all. Then, the door bursts open, and Grendel enters, an embodiment of nightmare, fierce and menacing. The clash that follows is nothing short of legendary. Beowulf grapples with the monster, their bodies crashing against the walls of the hall, the sound echoing like thunder. It is a fierce struggle, a contest of raw power and unyielding spirit. With every ounce of strength, Beowulf pushes back against Grendel's ferocity. It is a battle of wills, a moment that will be etched into the fabric of history. And then, in a moment that freezes time, Beowulf seizes Grendel's arm and wrenches it free from the creature's body. Grendel howls in agony, a sound that sends shivers down the spines of those watching. The monster flees, leaving behind a trail of blood and a lingering sense of hope. The hall erupts in joy, the warriors lifting Beowulf high, celebrating their hero. But even in victory, a shadow looms. Grendel's mother, a fierce and vengeful creature, soon emerges from the depths of the murky lake, seeking revenge for her fallen son. This time, Beowulf knows he must descend into her lair, where darkness and despair reign. Armed with courage and a powerful sword named Hrunting, he plunges into the depths, facing the unknown. The water is cold and thick, each stroke heavy with the weight of fate. As he fights his way through the depths, he encounters her in a fierce underwater battle, a dance of life and death. The fight is brutal and unyielding. Grendel's mother is not just a monster, she embodies the anguish of loss, the darkness that can consume even the noblest hearts. In a moment of desperation, Beowulf spots a massive sword hanging on the wall of her lair, forged by giants long ago. He seizes it and delivers a decisive blow, finally bringing an end to the threat that loomed over the Danes. Emerging victorious, Beowulf returns to hear it, celebrated as a savior, but he is not a man untouched by the struggles he has faced. Years pass, and Beowulf becomes king of the Geats, a ruler who embodies the virtues of strength and wisdom. But peace does not last forever. A dragon, angered and fierce, awakens from its slumber, and the kingdom is once again thrown into chaos. Though aged, Beowulf's spirit remains undaunted. He knows he must face this new foe, not for glory, but to protect his people. The fight with the dragon is fierce and fiery, a testament to his enduring spirit. As flames roar and the earth trembles beneath them, Beowulf's strength is tested once more. His warriors rally around him, but fear begins to seep into their hearts. When the dragon strikes, Beowulf fights valiantly, but the battle takes a toll. In a moment of sacrifice, he is struck, and the pain surges through him. He knows this will be his final battle, yet he stands firm. With a heart full of courage, he delivers a fatal blow to the dragon, securing peace for his people one last time. As he lies there, weakened and fading, Beowulf reflects on his life, a tapestry woven with valor and sacrifice. His final moments are filled with a deep sense of fulfillment. He thinks of the warriors he fought beside, the friendships he forged, and the legacy he leaves behind. In those fleeting moments, he understands that true heroism is not just in the battles fought, but in the love for his people, the loyalty to his friends, and the strength to face whatever comes next. The tale of Beowulf is more than just a story of battles, it is a reflection of the human spirit, a testament to the struggles we all face. It echoes the themes of bravery and sacrifice, weaving together the threads of Germanic mythology that speak of fate, destiny, and the choices we make. Beowulf stands as a hero not just in battle but in the hearts of those who remember him, a symbol of the enduring spirit of humanity, the hope that shines even in the darkest of times. As his story comes to a close, it leaves behind an indelible mark, a reminder that true strength lies not only in might but in the love and loyalty that bind us together. In the quiet of the forge, where the air is thick with the scent of burning coal and metal, the story of Wayland the smith comes to life. A master blacksmith, Wayland is not just a creator of weapons and armor, he is a figure of resilience and artistry, whose tale weaves through the fabric of Germanic mythology. His story begins in a place of beauty and promise, where his skill shines like the brightest star in the night sky. But, like many heroes, his life takes a dark turn that tests his spirit and ingenuity. Wayland was born to a family of great renown, the son of the legendary smith, Wieland. He grew up in the company of other skilled craftsmen, learning the secrets of the forge and the art of creation. His hands became adept at molding iron and steel, transforming raw materials into masterpieces. Swords that could slice through armor, shields that could withstand the fiercest blows, and intricate jewelry that sparkled like the sun, these were his gifts to the world. However, destiny had other plans for him. Wayland's life takes a dramatic turn when he becomes a victim of betrayal. He is captured by a cruel king named Nidung, who desires to keep the master smith at his side, forcing him to create weapons and treasures for his own glory. The once bright flames of Wayland's forge now flicker dimly under the weight of captivity. Each day feels like a heavy stone dragging him deeper into despair. He longs for freedom, for the chance to create again without chains binding his hands. Trapped in a dark tower, Wayland's spirit begins to wane. Yet, deep within him burns a spark of hope and defiance. He knows that he cannot surrender to his fate. He hatches a plan to escape, using his unparalleled skills as a smith to turn the tide in his favor. Gathering scraps of metal and tools hidden in the shadows, he begins to craft something extraordinary, a pair of wings, fashioned like those of a bird. With each stroke of his hammer, he pours his heart and soul into this creation, channeling his pain into something beautiful and powerful. The wings are not merely a means of escape, they symbolize his unyielding spirit. They embody the yearning for freedom, the desire to rise above the chains that bind him. As he completes the final touches, he feels a sense of renewal. In that moment, he is not just a captive but a creator, a master of his own destiny. When the time is right, Wayland waits for a stormy night, hoping the thunder and lightning will cover the sound of his escape. With his heart racing, he straps on the wings and leaps from the tower, soaring through the night sky. The wind whips past him, and for the first time in ages, he feels alive. He is no longer just Wayland the smith, but Wayland the free man, reclaiming his life and his dreams. As he glides through the air, he sees the land he longs to return to, the lush valleys, the sparkling rivers, and the familiar faces of those he loves. His spirit soars higher than the clouds, and for a moment, he forgets the pain of captivity. But freedom comes with a price. As he lands, he learns that his escape has not gone unnoticed. The cruel king, furious over Wayland's flight, seeks revenge. He dispatches hunters and warriors to bring him back, to punish him for his audacity. Wayland must now rely not only on his skill as a smith, but also on his cunning and courage to protect himself from those who would see him harmed. In the days that follow, Wayland uses his talents to create weapons and tools that would help him defend himself. He crafts a sword that gleams like the morning sun, sharp enough to slice through the toughest armor. He forges armor that hugs his body like a second skin, protective and strong. With each piece he creates, he is reminded of the light that once filled his life, the joy of crafting, the laughter of friends, the beauty of freedom. He vows to reclaim all that was taken from him, to turn his pain into strength. As the king's men close in, Wayland devises a final plan. He sets traps and uses his creations to outsmart his pursuers. The forest becomes his ally, a place where he knows every hidden path and secret glade. When they finally confront him, it is not as a defeated man but as a warrior, a master of his craft who will not be subdued. The battle is fierce, but Wayland's heart is fueled by the flames of his forge. With his weapons in hand, he fights with the spirit of a lion, refusing to back down. In a climactic clash, he faces the king himself. The two combatants circle each other, and the tension crackles in the air like the sparks of the forge. Wayland fights not only for his own freedom but for all who have suffered under the king's cruel rule. As the battle rages, the very ground beneath them seems to tremble with the weight of their struggle. In the end, Wayland emerges victorious, freeing himself not just from captivity but from the bonds of fear that had held him for so long. With the king defeated, Wayland returns to his forge, where he rebuilds his life and reputation. He becomes a legend, not only for his remarkable skill as a blacksmith, but for his incredible story of resilience and determination. He crafts weapons and treasures for those who honor him, sharing the wisdom he gained from his trials. His creations are sought after, not just for their beauty but for the spirit and heart that went into them. Each sword, each piece of jewelry carries with it a piece of Wayland's journey, a reminder of the power of hope and the strength found in overcoming adversity. Wayland the Smith is a symbol of creativity, resilience, and the indomitable spirit that lies within each of us. His story resonates through time, reminding us that even in our darkest moments, we have the power to forge our destiny and rise above the challenges we face. Through the fires of hardship, we can emerge as stronger, brighter beings, just as Wayland did in his legendary journey. His tale continues to inspire those who hear it, a beacon of hope that shines brightly in the annals of mythology. In the heart of ancient forests and beside glistening rivers, the Germanic people gathered to honor their gods through rituals that breathed life into their beliefs. Each ceremony was a dance between the seen and the unseen, a heartfelt expression of gratitude, hope, and fear. It was a time when the world felt alive with magic, where every rustle of leaves and every flicker of fire whispered of the divine. The rituals were the soul of Germanic religious practices, and they varied from grand festivals to intimate gatherings. Families would come together to celebrate the changing seasons, marking the time for planting, harvest, or the coming of winter. These moments were filled with laughter, storytelling, and the sharing of food, creating a tapestry of community that held everyone close. The warmth of the fire crackled in the night air, and as shadows danced on the walls of the forest, hearts brimmed with gratitude for the gifts of the gods. Sacrifices were an essential part of these practices, an offering of life to ensure blessings in return. The Germanic people believed that sharing a portion of what they had with the divine would strengthen their bond with the gods. Livestock, crops, and even precious items were offered in a spirit of humility and respect. In the presence of family and friends, they would gather around the sacred fire, chanting prayers filled with hope and reverence, asking for the gods' favor in their lives. Among the rituals, blood sacrifices were perhaps the most poignant. A sacred animal, chosen for its beauty and strength, would be brought forth, its life offered in a moment that felt both solemn and sacred. The air would grow thick with emotion as the participants bore witness to this act of devotion. They believed that the essence of the sacrificed animal would carry their wishes to the heavens. As the blood pooled on the earth, it symbolized a connection between the human realm and that of the gods. It was a moment of great sorrow, but also of immense gratitude, as life was given so that life could thrive. Communal feasts followed the sacrifices, where the meat was shared among all, and laughter echoed through the night. This was not just a meal, it was a celebration of life, an acknowledgement that every bite taken was a gift from the gods. The flavors mingled with the fragrance of the forest, creating an experience that felt almost otherworldly. In those moments, the line between the divine and human blurred, and everyone felt a sense of belonging that warmed their hearts. Temples and sacred groves were the physical manifestations of this deep connection. Each space was carefully chosen, often in places where nature's beauty flourished, under ancient trees, near rushing rivers, or atop misty hills. These sites were not just places of worship, they were sanctuaries where the divine seemed to come alive. Tall trees whispered secrets, and the gentle flow of water sang songs of eternity. The atmosphere was charged with a sense of purpose, as if the very ground they stood upon was imbued with the energy of their ancestors. The construction of temples was a labor of love. Craftsmen dedicated themselves to building structures that honored the gods. These places were adorned with intricate carvings, each telling a story of the divine. As worshippers stepped into these sacred spaces, they were enveloped by the scent of burning incense and the soft glow of candlelight. The air felt electric with expectation, as though the gods were watching, waiting to hear the prayers of their people. Sacred groves were equally important, revered as living temples. The trees stood tall and majestic, their branches stretching toward the heavens. It was here that rituals unfolded in harmony with nature. In the stillness of the grove, the whispers of the wind felt like the voices of ancestors, guiding and protecting. Offerings were left at the roots of the trees, simple tokens of appreciation that spoke volumes. Flowers, fruits, or small trinkets were placed with care, and in return, the worshippers felt a deep sense of peace, as if the spirits were acknowledging their devotion. Communities often held festivals that brought together different clans, each gathering a vibrant celebration of life and faith. The air buzzed with excitement as people traveled from far and wide, bringing with them stories, music, and food. The sound of laughter echoed as children played, their joy infectious. Under the stars, the night would be filled with the rhythm of drums and the melodic sound of flutes, drawing everyone into a shared experience of joy and unity. Every festival culminated in a powerful ritual, a moment when the community came together to express their hopes for the future. Standing in a circle, they would join hands and lift their voices in a chorus that resonated with the very fabric of their beliefs. They sang not just for themselves, but for their ancestors, for the generations to come, and for the gods who watched over them. In those moments, it was as if the entire world paused, held in a moment of collective hope and love. As night fell, and the fire flickered in the dark, stories of the gods and heroes were shared, passed down from one generation to the next. Each tale carried lessons of bravery, sacrifice, and the importance of community. Elders would recount the deeds of mighty warriors and wise deities, their voices rich with emotion. Children listened with wide eyes, hearts filled with wonder, feeling a deep connection to their heritage. Through rituals, sacrifices, and offerings, the Germanic people found a way to navigate the complexities of life. In their hearts, they understood that every moment was sacred, that their lives were intertwined with the cosmos. Each act of devotion was a reminder of their place in the grand tapestry of existence. The forests, rivers, and mountains were not just scenery, they were living, breathing entities that held their hopes, dreams, and fears. These practices forged a bond between the people and the divine, creating a legacy that echoed through time. Today, the remnants of these beliefs can still be felt in the whispers of the wind and the rustle of leaves. The heart of Germanic religious practices continues to beat, reminding us that even in a world that often feels disconnected, there is beauty in honoring the past and celebrating the life that flows through us all. In the shadows of the ancient forests, where the trees whispered secrets and the winds carried tales of old, magic thrived. It was a force that pulsed through the veins of the earth, alive in every leaf, stone, and stream. This magic was not merely a flicker of light or a burst of energy, it was a deep connection to the unseen world, a bridge between the human experience and the mysteries of the divine. In this enchanted realm, practitioners of magic emerged, known as Volvas, seers, and shamans, each wielding their unique gifts to navigate the currents of fate. The Volva stood out, often seen as a wise woman or a powerful figure in the community. With her long, flowing hair and robes woven from the colors of the earth, she moved with grace and purpose. People sought her counsel, drawn by her ability to glimpse into the future and understand the past. She held knowledge passed down through generations, secrets whispered to her by the spirits that danced on the edges of existence. Her voice, soft yet commanding, could stir emotions like the rising tide, and her words were laced with the power to heal or to curse. In the flickering light of the fire, the Volva would gather the community around her, creating a sacred space where magic could unfold. As the shadows grew long, she would begin to chant, her voice weaving a spell that wrapped around the hearts of those present. The air would grow thick with anticipation, a charged energy that made the hairs on their arms stand on end. It was in these moments that she would enter a trance, her spirit soaring beyond the physical realm. The people held their breath, hearts racing, as they waited for the wisdom of the ages to flow through her. Seers, too, played a vital role in this world of magic. Gifted with the ability to see beyond the ordinary, they could peer into the fabric of time and space. Their eyes sparkled with a light that spoke of knowledge, and their minds were filled with visions that sometimes terrified and often inspired. They interpreted dreams, uncovering layers of meaning hidden beneath the surface, helping others to understand the messages that the universe sent their way. Families turned to them in times of trouble, seeking guidance when the road ahead seemed uncertain. One particularly touching story echoed through the hearts of many, a tale of a mother who had lost her child. Desperate and broken, she sought the seer, hoping for a glimpse of comfort in her grief. The seer listened intently, her heart aching for the mother's sorrow. With a gentle touch, she took the mother's hands and closed her eyes, allowing herself to be swept into the current of fate. As images flashed before her, she saw a bright light and felt the warmth of love surrounding the child. When she opened her eyes, she shared this vision with the mother, revealing that their bond transcended life and death. Tears flowed freely, but they were mixed with a sense of peace, a soft reminder that love endures even in the darkest moments. Shamans also played a crucial part in this magical landscape, serving as intermediaries between the human realm and the spirit world. With deep respect for the natural world, they understood that everything held a spirit: trees, rivers, animals, and even the stones beneath their feet. They journeyed into the spirit world, seeking answers and healing for their people. Clad in furs and feathers, they would dance to the rhythm of drums, their bodies moving like the wind, connecting with the energies around them. One powerful tale spoke of a shaman who journeyed into the spirit realm to seek guidance for a village plagued by illness. The people were suffering, their laughter silenced by the shadow of despair. With the help of his spirit guides, the shaman ventured deep into the heart of the otherworld. He encountered spirits who revealed the source of the illness, a dark entity feeding off the villagers' pain. Armed with this knowledge, he returned to the living world and led the community in a powerful ritual, calling upon the spirits for protection and healing. As they joined hands and danced around a fire, the air crackled with energy, and the weight of despair began to lift, replaced by hope and unity. Siege, a form of magic deeply intertwined with prophecy and the weaving of fate, was a powerful practice among the Germanic people. It was not simply an art, but a sacred responsibility, one that required immense respect and focus. Those who practiced siege, often women, were known to enter a trance state, allowing them to connect with the threads of destiny that wove through all life. In this state, they could see the past, present, and future, navigating the complexities of existence with wisdom and grace. During a sacred siege ritual, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation as practitioners gathered. The flickering firelight cast a warm glow, illuminating the faces of those present, their eyes reflecting a mix of awe and devotion. As the siege worker began her chant, the energy in the room shifted, drawing everyone into a shared experience that felt almost magical. Visions danced before her eyes, threads of fate intertwined with the hopes and fears of the community. She could see the struggles ahead and the potential paths that lay before them, and her heart swelled with the responsibility of sharing this knowledge. Through her vision, she could feel the weight of their dreams, the burden of their worries, and the spark of their aspirations. Each thread she saw was a life intertwined with another, creating a tapestry rich with stories and experiences. As she spoke of what she saw, her words flowed like a river, carrying with them a sense of purpose and direction. The community listened intently, hanging on to every word, their hearts beating in sync with the rhythm of her voice. In that moment, they felt seen, their struggles acknowledged and their hopes honored. The practice of siege extended beyond mere prophecy. It was a means of communication with spirits, a way to seek guidance and wisdom from those who had passed on. The spirits were not viewed as distant figures, but as part of the community, forever intertwined with the lives of those who remained. People would seek the guidance of their ancestors, asking for strength in difficult times and clarity in moments of doubt. In this way, magic became a source of comfort, a reminder that they were never truly alone. As the rituals unfolded, a deep sense of connection filled the air. People realized that they were part of something greater than themselves, woven together by the threads of magic, love, and shared history. The stories of the Volvas, seers, and shamans resonated deeply within their hearts, and the bonds of community grew stronger. In a world that often felt chaotic, these practices provided a sense of belonging, a safe haven where they could explore the mysteries of life and death. Through the power of magic and siege, the Germanic people found a way to navigate the complexities of their existence. They honored the spirits, sought guidance from the past, and embraced the unknown. In doing so, they discovered that magic was not just an act but a way of life, a profound connection to the world around them and the unseen forces that shaped their destinies. The echoes of their rituals and the whispers of their ancestors continue to resonate, a timeless reminder that we are all part of a larger tapestry where love, loss, and hope intertwine in beautiful harmony. In the heart of ancient Germanic lands, where the rhythm of life flowed with the seasons, festivals brought communities together, igniting their spirits with joy and connection. These gatherings were more than just celebrations, they were powerful expressions of gratitude, remembrance, and hope. Each festival echoed with the laughter of children, the warmth of family, and the blessings of the gods, creating a rich tapestry of life that bound the people together. Yule, the winter festival, marked the return of the sun. As the darkest days enveloped the earth, communities gathered around roaring fires, their faces glowing with warmth and anticipation. Evergreens adorned homes, symbolizing life amidst the cold and a promise of renewal. Families prepared feasts filled with hearty dishes, the scents of roasted meats and baked breads mingling in the air. Children, eyes wide with excitement, would help decorate the Yule tree, hanging handmade ornaments and gifts, each one imbued with love and intention. On the longest night of the year, they would light candles and lanterns, casting away the darkness that threatened to swallow them whole. With every flicker of light, they celebrated the hope of brighter days ahead. Songs filled the air, melodies that spoke of the sun's return, and the gathering of loved ones felt like a warm embrace. The stories of the gods were told around the fire, reminding everyone of the powerful forces that governed their world. Odin, the wise All-Father, was honored as the one who guided them through the darkness, and the goddess Freya, who brought love and fertility, was invoked in hopes of a bountiful year. As the night deepened, the elders would share tales of old, recounting the adventures of gods and heroes. Each story echoed with wisdom, teaching the younger generation about bravery, loyalty, and the importance of community. The people listened, enraptured, their hearts swelling with pride for their heritage. In those moments, they felt the weight of their ancestors beside them, guiding and protecting them through the ages. As the seasons shifted, the celebration of midsummer burst forth like the sun itself. This festival was a vibrant expression of life, light, and fertility. Families adorned themselves with flowers, weaving crowns of blossoms and herbs that danced with the gentle breeze. Bonfires lit up the night sky, crackling and popping as laughter and music filled the air. The warmth of the flames mirrored the warmth of their hearts, reminding everyone of the life-giving power of the sun. Midsummer was a time of abundance, a moment to honor the earth for her gifts. As people gathered in fields and meadows, they expressed their gratitude through offerings and rituals. They would dance around the maypole, colorful ribbons swirling around them, each movement a celebration of joy and community. The spirit of Freya was especially honored, as she represented love and fertility, blessing the land with her presence. Couples would seek her favor, hoping for healthy children and prosperous harvests. Children, laughing and carefree, chased fireflies under the moonlit sky. The stars twinkled above, casting a magical glow on the festivities. Hearts were open, and dreams took flight as families shared their aspirations for the future. Each moment felt like a fleeting glimpse of eternity, a reminder of the beauty found in connection and togetherness. Winter nights, another vital celebration, served as a time of reflection and remembrance. As the days grew colder and the nights longer, the people came together to honor their ancestors. Families would gather around hearths, telling stories of those who had passed, sharing laughter and tears. The warmth of the fire enveloped them, a shield against the chill of the outside world. It was a sacred time, filled with reverence for the wisdom and guidance of those who had come before. During this festival, the veil between worlds felt thin. The spirits of the ancestors were believed to walk among the living, sharing their blessings and insights. Families would set an extra place at the table, a symbol of their love and remembrance. It was a touching tribute, a way to ensure that their loved ones were always a part of their lives, even in death. In those moments, the bond of family transcended time, uniting generations in a powerful embrace of love. As the night deepened during winter nights, people gathered to light candles, each flame a flicker of hope and connection. They whispered prayers to the gods, asking for guidance and protection for the coming year. Odin, with his vast knowledge and wisdom, was called upon to watch over them. They felt his presence in the warmth of the fire and the flickering candlelight, a reminder that they were never alone. The role of the gods in these festivals was paramount. Each celebration carried with it a sense of divine presence, a belief that the gods were intimately involved in the lives of the people. They understood that life was a delicate dance between fate and free will, and these festivals provided an opportunity to honor that relationship. The rituals and offerings made during these gatherings were seen as acts of devotion, expressions of gratitude for the blessings bestowed upon them. In the joyous laughter, heartfelt prayers, and shared stories, the people felt the heartbeat of their culture and community. These festivals were a testament to their resilience, a reminder that even in the face of adversity, they could find joy and connection. The gods were woven into the very fabric of their lives, guiding them through darkness and into light, just as the changing seasons reflected the cycles of life. As the last embers of the bonfire faded into the night, and the stars twinkled overhead like scattered diamonds, the people carried the spirit of the festivals within them. They knew that the magic of these celebrations would linger in their hearts, echoing through their memories and shaping their futures. In the dance of life, love, and community, they found solace, strength, and an enduring connection to the world around them. In the world of ancient Germanic beliefs, the afterlife was a profound journey shaped by one's deeds in life. For warriors who bravely fought in battle, the promise of Valhalla awaited them, a glorious hall where they would dine with the gods. This was not just a resting place, it was a vibrant realm filled with laughter, feasting, and the thrill of endless combat. Every day, The chosen warriors, known as the Einherjar, would engage in fierce battles, only to gather in the evening to share stories of their heroics over mead and meat. The atmosphere was electric, a celebration of valor and brotherhood, echoing the noble traditions of honor and bravery. Warriors dreamed of this fate, believing that a death in battle would grant them a ticket to this paradise. They lived for the thrill of combat, knowing that each fight brought them closer to the heavenly hall. It was a fierce honor to die wielding a sword, and their spirits soared at the thought of joining their fellow warriors in Valhalla. In this magnificent hall, Odin watched over them, proud of their courage. He believed that only the strongest and most honorable should reside there, and he chose those he deemed worthy, guiding their spirits to a place where they could thrive eternally. However, the afterlife was not so simple for everyone. The common folk, those who lived their lives as farmers, artisans, and simple laborers, faced a different fate. Their existence was filled with hard work, joy, and sorrow, but they did not engage in battle as the warriors did. Instead of Valhalla, many of these souls found themselves in Folkvanger, the field of the goddess Freya. Folkvanger was a beautiful and peaceful place, lush with meadows and blooming flowers. It was a haven for those who lived virtuous lives, where they could rest and find happiness in the afterlife. Freya, the goddess of love and fertility, welcomed these souls with open arms. She understood that not all lives could be spent in battle, and she cherished the kindness and compassion of those who had lived with love in their hearts. The inhabitants of Folkvanger enjoyed the bounties of nature, celebrating the joys of life with feasts and laughter. They were not forgotten, instead, they were honored in their own way. In this realm, the common people could cultivate their spirits, finding peace and fulfillment in their eternal rest. Yet, the afterlife held a darker realm for those who lived dishonorable lives. The goddess Hel ruled over this shadowy place, a kingdom known as Helheim. It was a chilling and lonely domain where the dishonorable souls found their final resting place. Hel, often depicted as a half-dead, half-living figure, ruled her realm with a firm hand. She had the power to decide the fate of souls who lacked courage, honor, or kindness. Her domain was cold, a stark contrast to the warmth of Valhalla and the beauty of Folkvanger. Souls who ended their lives in shame, cowardice, or malice found no comfort in Helheim. They wandered aimlessly, trapped in a place devoid of joy. There were no feasts or laughter, only a lingering sorrow that weighed heavily on their spirits. The absence of companionship made this realm even more painful, as these souls faced the consequences of their actions. In Helheim, the echoes of their choices resonated like distant whispers, reminding them of what they had forsaken in life. The journey to the afterlife was an emotional one, often steeped in the complexities of human experience. Each soul's fate was determined by their actions, thoughts, and deeds, making the choices they made in life all the more significant. Families spoke of their departed with reverence, passing down stories of courage and honor, hoping to guide future generations toward a life worthy of a noble afterlife. The concept of the afterlife was intertwined with the beliefs about fate and the influence of the Norns. These powerful figures shaped the destinies of all beings, weaving the threads of life with care. The Norns understood that every decision, every moment, would ripple through the fabric of time. As souls transitioned from life to afterlife, the weight of their choices would echo eternally, leaving a mark on the world they left behind. In times of loss, families would gather to honor their loved ones, lighting candles and sharing memories. The love and connection they felt lingered in the air, creating a bridge between the living and the dead. They spoke of Valhalla's warmth and the peace of Folkvanger, offering comfort to those who mourned. The stories of the deceased would be celebrated, preserving their legacies in the hearts of the living. The afterlife in Germanic beliefs was a reflection of the values held dear by the people: courage, honor, and love. It served as a powerful reminder that every action mattered, that every choice could shape not only one's destiny but also the legacy left behind. Warriors sought glory, common people found peace, and the dishonorable faced the weight of their choices, each finding their place in a world that echoed the stories of their lives. Through the tales of Valhalla, Folkvanger, and Helheim, the ancient Germanic people understood that life was a journey, one filled with trials and triumphs. The afterlife was not merely an end, but a continuation of the stories that connected them to one another and to the gods they revered. Their beliefs resonated with a profound truth that the love, courage, and choices made in life would echo through eternity, shaping the afterlife and binding them forever in a tapestry of shared experiences. In the misty dawn of time, where shadows danced and the air was thick with mystery, the runes emerged as whispers from the ancient world. These symbols were more than mere letters, they were the heartbeat of the Germanic people, each stroke imbued with deep meaning and power. The runic alphabet, known as the Futhark, held the essence of communication, magic, and destiny. It was a sacred script, a tool that allowed people to connect with the universe and express their innermost thoughts, hopes, and fears. Every rune had its own story, a unique essence that spoke to those who dared to listen. Each character was not just a letter but a symbol with rich significance. The first 6 runes, F, U, A, R, K, formed the name Futhark, which represented the foundation of this enchanting alphabet. From the moment they were etched into wood or stone, these symbols became vessels of human experience, expressing everything from love and sorrow to warnings and blessings. The origins of the runes can be traced back to the early Germanic tribes, who lived in harmony with nature, drawing inspiration from their surroundings. They believed that the world was filled with spirits and forces that could be harnessed through the power of the runes. To write with runes was to summon their magic, to invite the unknown into one's life. This belief made every inscription a sacred act, a way to forge a bond between the tangible and the mystical. People carved runes into weapons, shields, and tools, imbuing them with protection and strength. A warrior would etch runes into their sword before battle, believing that the symbols would grant them courage and victory. A farmer would mark their fields with runes to bless the crops, inviting prosperity and abundance. These acts were filled with intention, each stroke of the carving tool like a prayer to the gods and spirits, calling forth the forces that would shape their lives. Runes also served as a form of communication that transcended time. They were often used in memorial stones, where loved ones inscribed messages to honor the deceased. These stones stood tall in the earth, a testament to love that endured even beyond death. Families would gather around these stones, sharing stories and memories, feeling the presence of those who had passed. The runes became a bridge connecting the living to the dead, a way to keep their spirits alive in the hearts of the community. Magic, too, wove itself into the fabric of the runes. People believed that certain runes held the power to heal, protect, or bring forth change. Seers and practitioners of magic, known as Volvas, would use runes in their rituals, crafting intricate spells that could alter fate. Each rune acted as a key to unlocking potential, a way to navigate the complex tapestry of existence. These practitioners understood that the right combination of runes could manifest desires or ward off misfortune, their knowledge passed down through generations like a cherished secret. Yet, with great power came great responsibility. The runes demanded respect and understanding. Misusing their energy could lead to dire consequences, a lesson learned through tales of those who dared to manipulate forces they did not fully comprehend. The Germanic people held the runes in reverence, knowing that with each inscription, they were participating in the sacred dance of creation and destruction, harmony and chaos. As time moved on, the significance of the runes evolved. With the arrival of Christianity, the ancient ways began to fade, but the runes endured. They became a symbol of resistance and identity for those who clung to their ancestral roots. The power of the runes spoke to the spirit of the people, reminding them of who they were and where they came from. In the shadows of churches and the halls of nobility, runes whispered stories of bravery, love, and the eternal struggle between light and darkness. Today, the fascination with runes continues to thrive. They captivate the imagination of many, drawing people into a world where symbols hold power and ancient wisdom lies waiting to be rediscovered. Many seek to understand their meanings, to unlock the secrets hidden within the lines and curves. Runes are now seen not only as a historical artifact, but as a source of inspiration and guidance, a reminder that our connection to the past shapes our present. In the hearts of those who study them, runes are a living testament to the resilience of the human spirit. They embody the hope that transcends time, a reminder that our stories, much like the runes themselves, are etched into the fabric of existence. Through the power of the runes, we find a connection to our ancestors, to the earth, and to the very essence of life itself. The runes invite us to reflect on our own journeys, to recognize the choices that shape our destinies. They whisper to us in moments of stillness, urging us to embrace our true selves and to wield our voices with intention. Just as the ancient Germanic people turned to the runes for guidance, we too can find strength in their symbolism, courage in their stories, and connection in their magic. As we honor the past, we carry the legacy of the runes within us, weaving our own narratives into the tapestry of existence. Each of us becomes a storyteller, a bearer of the ancient wisdom that echoes through time. The runes remind us that we are all part of a greater story, bound together by the threads of fate and the power of our words. Through the runes, we are reminded that we have the ability to shape our lives, to carve our paths, and to leave our marks upon the world. In the shadow of ancient trees and under the vast, open sky, the Germanic tribes thrived. They were fierce warriors, deeply connected to their land, traditions, and gods. Their world was filled with stories of bravery, love, and sacrifice, woven into the fabric of their daily lives. Yet, as the winds of change began to blow, a new faith approached, a faith that promised salvation and a different kind of community. The conversion to Christianity was not merely a change of belief, it was a transformation that would ripple through their hearts and reshape their very identities. The arrival of Christian missionaries marked a momentous chapter in history. These devoted individuals ventured into the rugged territories, eager to share their message of love, hope, and eternal life. They walked among the people, speaking of a single, all-powerful God and the promise of a heavenly afterlife. Their words held a different kind of magic, one that stirred the hearts of some and filled others with suspicion. The Germanic tribes had long honored their own gods, celebrated their myths, and practiced their rituals. How could they abandon what had been woven into their very souls? As missionaries traveled from village to village, they encountered both curiosity and resistance. Some listened intently, captivated by tales of compassion and forgiveness. Others felt a deep sense of loss, mourning the fading of their cherished traditions. The missionaries understood that the path to conversion was not a simple one. It required sensitivity, patience, and a genuine respect for the culture they sought to transform. So, they devised ways to bridge the gap between the old and the new, adapting their teachings to resonate with the beliefs and practices of the Germanic people. One of the most powerful strategies was to integrate elements of pagan customs into the Christian faith. This was not simply a matter of co-opting traditions, it was an attempt to honor the spirit of the people while guiding them toward a new understanding of life and spirituality. Festivals that once celebrated the gods were infused with Christian meaning, transforming them into occasions for communal worship and reflection. The vibrant celebrations that marked the changing of seasons took on new significance, allowing the people to find continuity in their lives even as they embraced new beliefs. The missionaries recognized the power of storytelling, a skill deeply rooted in Germanic culture. They spoke of the life of Christ in ways that echoed the heroic tales of old, painting vivid pictures of sacrifice and redemption that resonated with their audience. The stories of saints were shared alongside legends of warriors, creating a tapestry that connected the past with the present. In this way, the essence of the old myths transformed, allowing the tribes to see their own values reflected in the new faith. The Virgin Mary emerged as a particularly compelling figure for many. Her nurturing nature and maternal love mirrored the qualities of the goddess Freya, who was revered for her compassion and care. This connection allowed some to embrace Christianity without entirely abandoning the familiarity of their previous beliefs. Over time, Mary became a symbol of hope and protection, much like the goddesses of old. As the seeds of Christianity took root, the impact was profound. Families gathered around the flickering light of candles to hear tales of saints and miracles, their hearts swelling with a mix of awe and devotion. Children learned prayers that replaced old chants, but the spirit of storytelling remained alive in their eyes. Yet, amid this transformation, a sense of nostalgia lingered. The echoes of ancient gods still whispered in the winds, reminding them of the rich tapestry of their heritage. the transition was not without conflict. Some clung fiercely to their old ways, seeing the new faith as a threat to their identity. In the face of persecution and the loss of sacred sites, these individuals fought valiantly to preserve their traditions. Their resistance was a testament to the strength of their beliefs, a reminder that faith is a deeply personal journey that cannot be easily erased. Amid the struggle, moments of reconciliation emerged. Communities began to blend their practices, creating unique expressions of faith that honored both the old and the new. The beauty of the Germanic spirit shone through as they found ways to celebrate their heritage within the framework of Christianity. This merging of traditions brought a sense of unity, allowing people to come together in shared rituals that honored their past while embracing the promise of a new future. In time, the landscape of the Germanic world shifted. The old gods became figures of legend, their stories woven into the folklore that continued to be told by firesides. Churches rose in place of sacred groves, yet the essence of the land remained. The people forged a new identity, one that honored their roots while walking the path of faith. This conversion was more than a change of religion, it was a profound evolution of the human spirit. The Germanic tribes learned to carry their stories and values into a new context, preserving their essence while embracing new ideas. The tension between the past and the present forged a unique culture that blended traditions, creating a rich tapestry that would influence generations to come. Through the process of Christianization, the Germanic world transformed, yet the heart of the people remained steadfast. The old myths and customs, though altered, continued to live on, echoing through the halls of memory. The tales of gods, heroes, and legendary battles became a part of their heritage, even as they found solace in the teachings of Christ. As the sun set on the old ways, a new dawn broke on the horizon, filled with hope, faith, and the enduring spirit of the Germanic people. Their journey of transformation, marked by struggle and resilience, became a testament to the strength of the human heart. Each step forward was a dance between the past and the present, a celebration of the enduring spirit that binds us all together, no matter the path we choose to walk. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden rays over the ancient landscapes, the echoes of a bygone era lingered in the air. Tales of gods, heroes, and mythical creatures filled the hearts of those who gathered around flickering fires, their faces illuminated by the warm glow. The rich tapestry of Germanic mythology weaved its way into the fabric of medieval literature, breathing life into stories that transcended time. Each tale held a powerful magic, connecting the past to the present, stirring emotions that resonated deep within the human soul. The sagas and Eddas, written in the language of the heart, served as vessels for these timeless myths. They were not mere texts, they were windows into a world where gods walked among men, where bravery and love battled against darkness and despair. These stories captured the imagination, inviting readers to journey alongside mighty warriors and wise seers, to feel the pulse of life that thrummed through every line. In the medieval period, the influence of Germanic mythology blossomed, merging with the vibrant cultures of the time. Poets and storytellers embraced the old legends, infusing their works with the spirit of the gods and the wisdom of ancient heroes. The tales were told with passion and reverence, allowing the essence of the past to dance gracefully in the minds of listeners. Among the most prominent sources of Germanic mythology were the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda, collections that preserved the stories of the gods and heroes for future generations. The Poetic Edda, a treasure trove of verse, contained the very heart of the myths, echoing with the voices of ancient skalds who sang of glory, tragedy, and love. The rhythms of the words flowed like a gentle stream, carrying the weight of emotion with every syllable. It spoke of the creation of the world, the deeds of the mighty Odin, the wisdom of Frigg, and the fierce bravery of Thor. In one tale, the Poetic Edda recounts the tragic fate of Baldr, the beloved son of Odin. His death was not just a loss, it symbolized the fragility of life itself. The heartache of his mother, Frigg, who sought to save him, resonated deeply, reflecting the universal struggle against fate and loss. This story, rich with emotion, transcended its time, echoing the struggles of countless souls who have faced grief. The sagas, too, played a significant role in weaving Germanic mythology into the fabric of medieval literature. These narratives chronicled the lives of legendary figures, such as Sigurd the Dragon Slayer and the heroic deeds of the Volsungs. The tales were often filled with courage, betrayal, and the relentless pursuit of honor, inviting readers to reflect on their own lives and choices. The characters were relatable, they battled inner demons and faced external challenges, embodying the eternal struggle between light and dark. One saga that stands out is the Saga of the Volsungs, where the fateful love story of Sigurd and Brynhild unfolds against a backdrop of glory and tragedy. Sigurd's bravery in slaying the dragon Fafnir and the curse of the Nibelung treasure highlight the complexities of fate and desire. As Sigurd pursued his destiny, readers felt the weight of his choices, his struggles against greed, and the cost of honor. The emotional depth of this saga resonated with medieval audiences, reminding them that every choice carries consequences, shaping the lives of not only the individuals but their loved ones as well. Medieval poetry, too, found inspiration in the rich veins of Germanic mythology. The heroic poems celebrated the deeds of warriors and kings, often drawing parallels between their struggles and those of the gods. In the Psalm of Rolf Krake, the themes of bravery and sacrifice shimmered like stars in the night sky. The characters grappled with loyalty and betrayal, their journeys reflecting the timeless struggles of the human heart. Amid these tales, the image of the Valkyries emerged as powerful symbols of choice and fate. The Valkyries, fierce maidens tasked with guiding slain warriors to Valhalla, embodied the very essence of bravery and honor. Their presence in literature served as a reminder of the warrior's desire for glory in battle and the hope for a meaningful afterlife. The image of these strong women resonated with readers, inspiring admiration for their strength and the weight of their choices. The melding of Christian themes with Germanic mythology in medieval literature added another layer of complexity. As the stories evolved, elements of faith and redemption emerged alongside the traditional tales of gods and heroes. The poets crafted narratives that intertwined the ideals of both belief systems, reflecting a society in transition. The quest for meaning, the search for divine favor, and the struggles against darkness were common threads that connected the old and the new. In this rich literary landscape, the tales of Germanic mythology served as a bridge between the past and the present. They provided solace in times of struggle and a sense of identity in an ever-changing world. Each story became a mirror, reflecting the hopes and fears of those who dared to dream. The heroes and gods came alive in the hearts of the people, guiding them through the storms of life. As the flames of the fire flickered and danced, casting shadows on the walls of the gathering place, the storytellers knew they held something precious in their hands. They were not just sharing stories, they were sharing a legacy, a connection to their ancestors, and a testament to the human spirit. The power of these tales lay in their ability to evoke emotions, to stir the hearts of listeners, and to inspire generations. In this way, Germanic mythology became more than just ancient stories, it became a source of inspiration and resilience. The influence of these tales on medieval literature was profound, shaping the narratives that would echo through time. The gods and heroes, their struggles and triumphs, became part of a collective memory, reminding all of us that our stories are intertwined. As the last embers of the fire glowed softly in the night, the spirits of the past lingered in the air. The connection between the ancient and the modern, the mythical and the real, remained vibrant and alive. In the heart of every listener was the echo of a story waiting to be told, a reminder that we, too, carry the legacies of our ancestors within us, woven into the very fabric of who we are. In a world where the past whispers secrets through the remnants of time, every artifact tells a story. As we sift through the sands of history, the vibrant colors and intricate designs of ancient art leap forth, capturing the hearts and imaginations of those who behold them. The gods, creatures, and myths of the Germanic people come alive in these pieces, painting a picture of a rich cultural tapestry woven with devotion, fear, and wonder. The representation of these divine beings and mythical creatures in art is not just a reflection of creativity, it is a testament to the beliefs and values of a society that cherished its connection to the divine. From the fierce majesty of Thor wielding his hammer to the graceful presence of Freya adorned with her feathered cloak, every image carries a pulse, a heartbeat that resonates with the viewer. The powerful figures etched in stone or painted on ancient pottery evoke emotions that transcend time, stirring something deep within us that speaks of our own humanity. Take, for instance, the captivating images of the Valkyries. These fierce maidens, tasked with selecting those worthy of Valhalla, were often depicted riding through the skies, their horses galloping among the clouds. Artworks showcasing the Valkyries capture their strength and beauty, their determination radiating from every brushstroke. In these images, we can almost hear the clang of armor and the thundering hooves as they soar through the heavens, embodying both the nobility of war and the hope of a glorious afterlife. As we gaze upon them, we feel an overwhelming sense of admiration and longing, an echo of the human desire to be brave, to be chosen, to find a place in a grander narrative. Then there are the intricate carvings and engravings that portray the serpent-like form of Jormungandr, the Midgard serpent. This creature, coiling around the world, embodies chaos and destruction, a reminder of the inevitable struggles that define existence. Artists captured the tension in these images, showcasing the fierce confrontation between Jormungandr and Thor, the god of thunder. The scene resonates with a primal fear and fascination, evoking the internal battles we all face against our own demons. Every line etched into the stone tells a story of courage in the face of despair, a call to confront the monsters that lurk within and without. The beauty of this artistic expression is not limited to grand figures and epic battles. Everyday life, intertwined with myth, is beautifully depicted in artifacts like amulets and jewelry. These items often featured symbols associated with the gods, serving as protective charms for the wearer. The delicate craftsmanship of these pieces speaks to a profound belief in the divine, a hope that the gods would watch over them. Holding such an artifact, one can almost feel the weight of centuries of faith and longing, the dreams and fears of those who came before us imprinted on the metal. Archaeological discoveries further illuminate the spiritual landscape of the Germanic tribes. Excavations have unearthed sacred sites, altars, and burial mounds that speak volumes about the rituals and beliefs of these ancient people. One of the most poignant findings is the remains of wooden idols, once vibrant symbols of devotion, now silently resting in the earth. Each idol tells a story of worship, of prayers whispered in the shadow of great trees, invoking the presence of gods who were believed to shape their lives. Among these sacred sites, the discovery of a burial mound, complete with grave goods and offerings, provides a glimpse into the beliefs surrounding the afterlife. Here lies a warrior, laid to rest with weapons, jewelry, and even food for the journey ahead. The meticulous care taken in these burials reveals a deep-seated belief in life after death, a hope that the deceased would be welcomed into the halls of Valhalla or Folklore, surrounded by the beauty of the divine. As we stand before these remains, we are reminded of our own mortality and the yearning for connection that transcends time. The symbols of Germanic mythology extend beyond mere representation. They are threads woven into the very fabric of identity. From the sun wheel, representing the cycle of life, to the Yggdrasil tree, connecting the 9 worlds, each symbol carries meaning that resonates with the human experience. These symbols, found on jewelry, weapons, and everyday objects, speak to the values held dear by the Germanic people: strength, resilience, and the intricate balance between life and death. The significance of these symbols and artifacts goes beyond their aesthetic appeal. They are reminders of a world where every object, every image, held deep meaning. The act of creating was an act of devotion, a way to honor the gods and the stories that shaped their lives. Each piece tells of the hope and dreams of those who lived long ago, capturing the essence of humanity's eternal search for purpose. As we piece together the fragments of the past, we recognize that these symbols continue to resonate with us today. They invite us to reflect on our own beliefs, our own journeys, and the connections we forge with the world around us. The Germanic myths, once carved into stone and painted on clay, remind us of the power of storytelling, the strength found in community, and the hope that binds us all. In the end, the art and artifacts of the Germanic world are not just relics of history, they are a bridge to understanding our shared humanity. Each symbol, each carving, invites us to feel, to connect, and to remember. As we gaze upon these ancient representations, we are not just looking at the past, we are embracing a legacy that lives on, echoing through the ages and whispering to us in the quiet moments of reflection. In the flickering light of our imagination, the ancient tales of Germanic mythology breathe life into modern fantasy, weaving a tapestry of wonder that transcends time and space. These myths, steeped in valor, love, and tragedy, have shaped the very fabric of contemporary storytelling. From the grand epics of J.R.R. Tolkien to the haunting melodies of Wagner, the influence of these ancient stories echoes through the ages, reminding us of the power of myth to stir our hearts and ignite our dreams. As we turn the pages of Tolkien's masterpieces, we find ourselves transported to a world rich with the echoes of the past. The majestic landscapes of Middle-earth, filled with towering mountains and lush forests, come alive with the spirit of ancient heroes and gods. Characters like Aragorn, with his noble lineage, and Gandalf, the wise wizard, embody the virtues celebrated in the sagas of old. Their journeys are not just tales of adventure, they reflect the timeless struggle between light and darkness, hope and despair, a theme that resonates deeply with our own lives. Tolkien's work is not just inspired by Germanic mythology, it is woven with its very essence. The elves, with their ethereal beauty and deep connection to nature, reflect the light elves of old, while the darkness of Mordor echoes the chaotic forces that the gods themselves battled against. Each character, each setting, feels familiar yet fresh, a reminder that these ancient stories have laid the groundwork for the epic tales we cherish today. The depth of emotion in Tolkien's writing pulls at our heartstrings, evoking a sense of nostalgia for a time we never lived, but feel we somehow know. Wagner, too, draws from this rich well of myth, infusing his operas with the haunting melodies and powerful narratives of Germanic tales. The Ring cycle, with its themes of power, greed, and redemption, mirrors the struggles of the gods and heroes of the Norse sagas. As we listen to the soaring notes of the Valkyrie or the tragic strains of Siegfried, we feel the weight of destiny pressing down, much like the ancient warriors who fought for honor and glory. The operas are not merely performances, they are emotional journeys that resonate with the universal themes of love and loss, betrayal and courage. These stories, rooted in the ancient past, have woven themselves into the very fabric of our modern culture. From books to films to video games, the influence of Germanic mythology can be seen everywhere. The blockbuster film adaptations of Tolkien's work have brought the mythic past to life, captivating audiences with stunning visuals and rich storytelling. Every battle fought by the Fellowship and every sacrifice made by its members reflect the age-old tales of bravery and honor, reminding us of the ideals we aspire to in our own lives. Fantasy literature today continues to draw on the powerful imagery and themes found in these ancient myths. The archetypes established by Germanic stories, the hero, the wise mentor, the tragic figure, are now staples in our beloved fantasy worlds. The journey of self-discovery, the quest for redemption, and the battle against overwhelming odds resonate strongly within us, igniting a sense of hope that even in the darkest times, light can prevail. The popularity of role-playing games, like Dungeons and Dragons, showcases how deeply ingrained these myths are in our storytelling. Players take on the roles of warriors, wizards, and elves, embarking on quests that echo the very journeys of heroes like Sigurd and Beowulf. As they navigate through treacherous landscapes and face daunting foes, they embody the spirit of adventure that defined the sagas of old. These games not only entertain but also forge connections between players, creating a shared experience that binds them in a way that is reminiscent of the communal storytelling traditions of the past. Even in the realm of pop culture, the influence of Germanic mythology continues to thrive. Movies, television shows, and comics are rife with references to these ancient tales. The symbols and characters that once roamed the pages of sagas now stride across our screens, captivating new generations with their stories of courage and conflict. The iconic imagery of Thor, wielding his hammer, or Loki, the trickster god, captivates audiences, inviting them to explore the rich depths of these narratives. As we engage with these modern interpretations, we find ourselves drawn to the universal truths they reveal of love, betrayal, and the quest for belonging. As we navigate this modern landscape, the ancient myths remind us of our shared humanity. They speak to our hopes and fears, our dreams and struggles. Through the lens of fantasy, we can confront the same battles faced by those who came before us. Each story serves as a mirror, reflecting our own experiences and emotions, urging us to find strength in vulnerability, courage in the face of adversity. The ongoing legacy of Germanic mythology is not just a testament to its enduring power, it is a call to remember. To remember the heroes who fought against darkness, the gods who guided their paths, and the stories that have shaped our world. These myths have become part of our collective consciousness, reminding us that even in our modern lives, we are all part of a larger narrative. We are all warriors in our own right, navigating a complex and often chaotic world, seeking purpose and connection. In every tale told, and every song sung, the influence of Germanic mythology pulses with life. It carries the weight of history while inviting us to dream anew. As we immerse ourselves in these stories, we are not just passive observers, we become active participants in a saga that stretches across time. The myths of the past live on within us, lighting the way as we forge our paths into the unknown, reminding us that the spirit of adventure is eternally alive in the heart of every storyteller. The stories of gods, heroes, and mystical creatures weave a tapestry that connects us all. Across cultures and continents, myths speak to our hearts, resonating with timeless truths and shared human experiences. The world of Germanic mythology is no exception. Within its enchanting tales, echoes of ancient beliefs can be found that connect it to the broader tapestry of Indo-European mythologies. The threads that bind these myths together reveal common themes and structures that stir something deep within us, reminding us that we are part of a larger story. In the heart of these myths lies a rich vein of creation stories, tales of how the world came to be. The Germanic creation myth tells of the giant Ymir, who formed the world from his own body after being slain by the gods Odin, Vili, and Ve. This powerful imagery resonates with similar creation myths found in other Indo-European traditions. In Hinduism, for instance, the cosmic being Purusha is sacrificed to create the universe, and in the Greek myth of the Titan Cronus, the world is shaped through conflict and transformation. These narratives share a theme of rebirth from destruction, illustrating how creation often arises from chaos and sacrifice. As we wander through these myths, we encounter heroic journeys that transcend time and culture. The Germanic hero Siegfried, who slays the dragon Fafnir and seeks glory through his brave deeds, finds a parallel in the Greek hero Perseus, who faces similar trials in his quest to defeat monsters and claim his destiny. The trials faced by these heroes resonate with our own struggles, reminding us that courage, determination, and sacrifice are universal traits that connect us as human beings. Family ties also play a significant role in these tales. The relationship between gods and mortals, parents and children, weaves an intricate pattern that resonates through time. In Germanic mythology, the gods often interact with humans, blessing them or causing their downfall. This theme echoes in other Indo-European mythologies, where gods frequently interfere in human affairs. The bond between gods and heroes reflects our own yearning for connection, guidance, and understanding in a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable. Tragedy, too, unites these narratives. The heartbreak of loss and the inevitability of fate resonate throughout Germanic myths, such as the sorrowful tale of Brynhild and Sigurd. Their love story, steeped in betrayal and tragedy, mirrors the themes found in the myths of Orpheus and Eurydice in Greek mythology or the doomed romance of Tristan and Isolde in Celtic lore. These tales of love and loss evoke powerful emotions, reminding us of the fragility of life and the profound connections we share with one another. The themes of creation, heroism, family, and tragedy are not just isolated elements, they form a mythic structure that appears across various Indo-European cultures. This shared structure includes archetypal figures, the wise old man, the nurturing mother, the trickster, who guide and challenge heroes on their quests. These archetypes resonate within us, embodying aspects of our own personalities and experiences. When we hear tales of the cunning Loki in Germanic mythology or the clever Odysseus in Greek lore, we are reminded of the complexities of our own nature, the balance of light and dark that exists within each of us. Rituals and practices further illuminate the connections between these mythologies. Germanic traditions, like the Norse celebrations of Yule, reflect the changing seasons and the cycles of life and death. Similarly, ancient Indo-European cultures held festivals that celebrated agricultural cycles and honored their gods, reinforcing their connection to the earth and the cosmos. The shared recognition of the importance of nature and the divine speaks to our innate desire to belong and find meaning in the world around us. As we explore the vast landscape of comparative mythology, the stories of gods and heroes continue to resonate with our deepest emotions. The parallels between Germanic and other Indo-European myths are not mere coincidences, they reflect the shared heritage of humanity. These stories remind us that, despite our differences, we are all connected through the universal themes that shape our existence. The struggles we face, the love we share, and the tragedies that touch our lives are all part of the human experience. In the end, the exploration of these myths is an invitation to reflect on our own lives. The tales of ancient gods and heroes echo within us, reminding us of the power of storytelling to inspire, heal, and unite. As we share in these narratives, we find ourselves part of an ongoing conversation that transcends time and space. The lessons learned from these myths resonate across cultures, inviting us to embrace the complexities of our existence and to find strength in our shared humanity. The stories may differ in detail, but their essence, our hopes, dreams, and fears, remains the same, binding us together in a rich tapestry of life that spans generations. The stories told in Germanic mythology are not just tales of gods and heroes, they are profound reflections on the nature of existence. The interplay between fate and free will echoes through the ages, speaking to the heart of what it means to be human. In these ancient tales, every character faces the looming shadows of destiny while wrestling with their own desires and choices. This tension creates a rich tapestry of emotions, where hope, despair, and determination intertwine in a dance as old as time itself. At the center of this world stands the concept of fate, a powerful force that shapes the lives of gods and mortals alike. The Norns, those mysterious weavers of destiny, spin the threads of life, determining the fates of all beings. Urd, Verdandi, and Skuld, each Norn represents a different aspect of time: what has happened, what is happening, and what will happen. Their presence serves as a constant reminder that fate is not a distant idea, it is a living, breathing force that influences every choice made. The inevitability of fate can be both comforting and terrifying. In Germanic myths, characters often struggle against the currents of destiny, trying to carve their paths while knowing that certain outcomes are preordained. Sigurd, the dragon slayer, finds himself caught in this web of fate. He is destined to face challenges and confront the bitter truth of his choices. Even his heroic actions seem to unfold in a way that suggests a larger plan, as if the universe itself guides him toward his ultimate confrontation with death. This struggle against the threads of fate resonates deeply, reflecting our own lives where we sometimes feel like puppets on strings, yet yearn to break free. Yet, the beauty of these myths lies in the balance between fate and free will. While the Norns weave the fates of all beings, the gods also play a crucial role in the lives of mortals. Odin, the All-Father, is a constant presence, often intervening in human affairs, bestowing wisdom and strength on those who seek it. This divine guidance offers hope in the face of despair, reminding us that even within the constraints of fate, we have the power to shape our destinies through our choices. Take the story of Beowulf, for instance. He arrives in Heorot to face the monstrous Grendel, not merely because fate dictates it, but because he chooses to take on the challenge. His courage and determination drive him forward, illuminating the truth that while fate may lay the groundwork, it is the choices we make that define our paths. In the clash of swords and the roar of battle, we see the human spirit rise against the seemingly insurmountable. This duality, fate and agency, creates a tension that reverberates through the lives of the characters and, by extension, through our own lives. It teaches us that while we cannot control every circumstance, we do possess the ability to respond to those challenges. The lessons learned from these myths remind us that our actions matter. Just like the heroes and heroines of the past, we stand at the crossroads, faced with decisions that will shape our destinies. Tragedy often strikes in these tales, emphasizing the fragility of life and the complexity of choice. Characters like Brynhild grapple with fate's cruel hand, leading to heart-wrenching outcomes. Her love for Sigurd becomes a source of pain and betrayal, showcasing how even the most noble intentions can lead to devastating consequences. The tragedy serves to underscore the weight of choice in a world where fate looms large, urging us to consider how our actions ripple through the fabric of our lives and the lives of those around us. The gods themselves are not immune to the influences of fate, which adds layers of complexity to their characters. Odin, wise yet flawed, often seeks to understand the intricacies of destiny. He sacrifices himself to gain knowledge of the runes, desperate to navigate the tangled web of fate. In this way, the gods embody the very struggle that humans face, a yearning for understanding, a desire to assert control in a world that often feels unpredictable. Their stories echo our own quests for meaning, where we wrestle with the uncertainty of tomorrow while striving to carve our paths today. In the end, the myths of the Germanic world offer more than just tales of gods and heroes. They present a mirror reflecting our struggles and triumphs. The tension between fate and free will reveals the beauty of our existence, the knowledge that we are part of something larger, while still possessing the agency to shape our lives. As we read these stories, we are reminded that every choice we make is significant, that our paths are intertwined with those around us, creating a rich tapestry of experiences. In this interplay of fate and agency, we find hope. The characters we encounter teach us that, even in the face of overwhelming odds, it is our choices that define who we are. The Germanic myths invite us to embrace the unknown, to take bold steps into the future while acknowledging the threads of fate that bind us. We may not control everything that happens, but we have the power to choose how we respond. In this dance of destiny, we discover the strength of the human spirit, the beauty of resilience, and the courage to forge ahead, one decision at a time. The roar of thunder, the whisper of the wind, the rustle of leaves in a dense forest, these sounds weave a powerful connection between the natural world and the ancient myths of the Germanic people. In their stories, nature is not just a backdrop, it comes alive with personified forces that reflect the beauty and ferocity of the elements. These tales evoke a deep sense of reverence for the land, reminding us that every mountain, river, and storm has a story to tell, one that resonates within our hearts. From the mighty mountains to the vast oceans, every natural element is a character in the grand narrative of existence. In the Germanic myths, these elements are often personified, giving them life and personality. Thor, the thunder god, embodies the fierce power of storms, his hammer Mjolnir striking the sky with a fury that commands respect. The thunder that rumbles overhead is not merely a sound, it is the voice of Thor, echoing through the valleys and forests, reminding mortals of his strength and protection. Forests, too, are sacred spaces filled with mystery and magic. The towering trees are seen as guardians, their ancient roots connecting them to the very heart of the earth. In these woods, creatures of all kinds roam freely, but it is the elves and spirits that truly breathe life into the shadows. The connection between the gods and nature is profound. They are not separate entities, but rather intertwined forces that shape each other's existence. When the gods walk through the woods, the leaves seem to whisper their names, and the animals stir, sensing the presence of the divine. Mountains, with their imposing heights and timeless presence, are revered in these tales as places of strength and wisdom. The gods retreat to the mountains for contemplation, drawing strength from the very earth itself. The peaks represent not just physical challenges, but also spiritual journeys, where one can connect with the forces of nature and gain insight into their own existence. The struggle to climb these heights mirrors our own challenges in life, where perseverance and determination can lead to personal triumphs. The rivers, flowing steadily through the landscape, symbolize the passage of time and the cycle of life. They carry stories, memories, and dreams as they journey toward the sea. In Germanic mythology, rivers are often personified as wise beings, sharing their knowledge with those who listen closely. The sound of water cascading over rocks becomes a song of wisdom, reminding us of the importance of patience and the beauty of gradual change. Just as rivers adapt and carve new paths, we too must embrace the ebb and flow of life. In the heart of these myths lies a deep respect for nature, a recognition that we are all part of something greater. The connection between deities and natural elements reflects the human experience, where joy and sorrow, triumph and defeat are woven into the very fabric of existence. The gods interact with the natural world in ways that reveal their vulnerabilities and strengths. They face storms, navigate rivers, and find solace in the mountains, showing us that even the mighty can be shaped by the forces of nature. The story of Freya, the goddess of love and fertility, beautifully illustrates this connection. She embodies the lushness of the earth, nurturing life in all its forms. As she walks through the fields, flowers bloom in her wake, and animals gather around her, sensing her gentle spirit. Her love for nature reminds us that the beauty of life is interwoven with our environment. When we care for the earth, we honor the deities that reside within it. Each season, marked by its own natural rhythms, becomes a celebration of life, reflecting the cycles of birth, growth, death, and rebirth. Yet, nature is not always gentle. It can unleash its fury in the form of storms and floods. The destructive power of these elements serves as a reminder of nature's unpredictability and the importance of humility. When the skies darken and the winds howl, even the bravest of heroes must acknowledge their limits. The tales of gods battling giants and monsters in storms resonate with the primal fear and respect we hold for nature's wrath. It is in these moments of chaos that we learn the value of resilience and adaptability, the strength to face adversity head-on. The interplay between nature and the gods also speaks to our own struggles. In moments of despair, we often seek solace in the natural world. A walk in the forest can provide comfort, a reminder that life continues despite our hardships. The whispers of the wind and the rustle of leaves can heal wounds that words cannot touch. This connection to nature is a thread that binds us to our ancestors, who also found strength and inspiration in the world around them. Germanic mythology teaches us that the forces of nature are not just external, they reside within us as well. The storms we face in life, the mountains we must climb, and the rivers that challenge our paths all mirror our internal struggles. As we navigate these challenges, we come to understand that we, too, are part of this magnificent tapestry. Our joys, sorrows, and choices ripple through the fabric of existence, echoing the experiences of those who came before us. In the end, the stories of Germanic mythology remind us of our profound connection to nature. Each element, storm, forest, mountain, holds a mirror to our own lives, urging us to reflect on our place within the universe. The deities that personify these natural forces guide us, teaching us lessons of strength, humility, and love. As we listen to the whispers of the wind and the calls of the earth, we open ourselves to the beauty and power that surrounds us, recognizing that we are never truly alone in our journey. Each step we take is a tribute to the connection we share with the natural world, a reminder that we are all part of the same grand story. In the vast tapestry of Germanic mythology, the threads of gender weave a rich and complex story, revealing how the divine mirrored the lives of those who worshipped them. From powerful gods to wise goddesses, the roles of men and women in these ancient tales tell us not just about the deities themselves, but also about the societies that revered them. The emotions and experiences portrayed in these myths resonate deeply, reminding us that the struggles and triumphs of the past still echo in our lives today. At the heart of Germanic mythology stand gods like Odin and Thor, figures of strength and wisdom, embodying the ideals of masculinity in their quest for power and knowledge. Odin, the All-Father, is often depicted as a seeker of wisdom, willing to sacrifice everything for knowledge, even his eye. His bravery and cunning showcase a masculine ideal that values intellect alongside physical prowess. Thor, with his mighty hammer, represents the warrior spirit. His battles against giants and monsters reflect a world where strength is paramount and the protector's role is sacred. Yet, the depiction of women in these myths is equally powerful and essential. Goddesses such as Freya and Frigg shine brightly in the pantheon, revealing a different side of strength and influence. Freya, the goddess of love and war, embodies both passion and power. She rides into battle alongside the warriors, asserting that women too can be fierce fighters. Her ability to choose who lives and dies in battle mirrors the control and agency women seek in their own lives. She is not just a figure of beauty, she is a warrior and a leader, challenging the notion that femininity is synonymous with weakness. Frigg, the wife of Odin, also plays a crucial role in the mythological landscape. As a goddess of marriage and motherhood, her presence highlights the importance of family and community. She is portrayed as wise and nurturing, providing counsel to her husband and ensuring the well-being of their family. Yet, Frigg also experiences profound heartache and loss, especially in the story of her son Baldur's death. This aspect of her character emphasizes the depth of women's experiences, showcasing that their roles are not confined to the domestic sphere but encompass profound emotional struggles and resilience. The tales of Valkyries, the female warriors who choose those who may die and those who may live in battles, further illuminate the multifaceted roles of women in Germanic mythology. These fierce and ethereal beings do not simply follow orders, they possess agency and strength. Their decisions shape the fates of heroes, allowing them to command respect and wield power in a male-dominated world. The Valkyries represent the balance of power and responsibility, demonstrating that women can be both nurturing and fierce, capable of making choices that influence the course of events. In the myths, women are not just passive figures, they actively engage with the world around them. The tales of powerful heroines reveal that women in Germanic society often held significant influence. For instance, the story of Gudrun, a strong-willed character from the saga of the Volsungs, highlights her journey through love, loss, and revenge. Gudrun's resilience in the face of adversity reflects the strength many women embodied, even when they faced insurmountable challenges. Her ability to navigate her fate, often with great sorrow, reveals a depth of character that resonates with anyone who has faced hardship. The complexity of gender roles in these myths sheds light on the dynamics of Germanic society itself. Women could be warriors, leaders, and seers, while men could also show vulnerability and emotion. The myths challenge the notion that gender roles are rigid. Instead, they suggest a more fluid understanding of strength and power, where both men and women can possess qualities traditionally associated with the opposite gender. This notion opens a dialogue about the roles and expectations placed on individuals, encouraging a reevaluation of what it means to be strong, nurturing, or wise. However, the stories also reflect the struggles women faced within their societies. While the myths celebrate female power, they also reveal the constraints placed on women in a patriarchal world. The tragic tales of women like Brynhild, who suffers due to her fierce nature and tragic love, highlight the consequences of defying societal expectations. Brynhild's story serves as a cautionary tale, showing that women who challenge the norms can pay a heavy price. The tension between empowerment and limitation resonates with the experiences of many women throughout history and continues to resonate today. The emotional depth found in these myths illustrates a profound understanding of the human experience. Love, loss, strength, and vulnerability are woven throughout the stories of both gods and goddesses. The gods face their own struggles, showing that even the mightiest can falter, while the goddesses embody resilience in the face of heartbreak. These narratives resonate deeply with audiences, reminding us that the trials faced by these mythical figures mirror our own lives. As we reflect on the gender roles in Germanic mythology, we uncover a beautiful complexity that transcends time. The stories invite us to reconsider our understanding of strength and agency, revealing that the essence of humanity exists beyond the confines of gender. The powerful women in these myths inspire us to embrace our own strength while recognizing the deep emotional currents that bind us all. They remind us that every story, whether of triumph or tragedy, contributes to the rich tapestry of life, urging us to honor our past and strive for a future where everyone's voice is heard. In the heart of Germanic mythology lies a treasure trove of moral lessons, waiting to touch the soul and awaken the spirit. These ancient stories, steeped in honor and bravery, whisper timeless truths that resonate across generations. They remind us that life is a battlefield where choices matter, where our actions shape our destinies, and where values like courage, loyalty, and sacrifice illuminate the path we walk. Picture a world where honor is the highest virtue, where warriors are celebrated not just for their strength but for their integrity. In the tales of heroes like Beowulf, we find a shining example of this ideal. When Beowulf hears of the terror brought upon the Danes by the monster Grendel, he doesn't hesitate. He sails across treacherous seas, driven not by fame or fortune but by a deep sense of duty to protect those in need. His courage inspires those around him, igniting a spark of hope. In a world fraught with darkness, honor stands as a beacon, guiding us toward bravery in the face of adversity. As we follow Beowulf's journey, we see that his courage comes with a heavy price. When he ultimately confronts Grendel's mother, he faces not just a fearsome foe but also the haunting reminder of the consequences of his actions. His determination to avenge the fallen and protect his people is a poignant testament to the depth of loyalty. This loyalty goes beyond mere obligation. It's a bond that connects him to his people, to his heritage. In his struggle, we feel the weight of his sacrifice, reminding us that true courage often requires us to face our fears and embrace our vulnerabilities. The stories of the Germanic gods also echo these themes of courage and sacrifice. Odin, the All-Father, sacrifices his eye for wisdom. This act of selflessness teaches us that true knowledge often comes at a cost. It reveals the beauty of putting the greater good above our desires, a lesson that resonates through the ages. We find ourselves questioning, what are we willing to sacrifice for our dreams and for those we love? The tales urge us to reflect on our choices and remind us that our greatest achievements often arise from our willingness to endure hardship. Loyalty, too, is woven into the fabric of these myths. The bond between brothers, friends, and comrades is sacred. The tragic tale of Sigurd and Brynhild embodies this loyalty, as their fates intertwine in a web of love, betrayal, and revenge. When Sigurd breaks his promise to Brynhild, the repercussions ripple through their lives, leading to heartbreak and loss. Their story resonates with the painful truth that our actions have consequences. Loyalty demands honesty and integrity, and when we betray those we love, we risk losing everything that truly matters. As we journey through these tales, we encounter characters who exemplify the virtue of sacrifice. The legend of the Valkyries reminds us that bravery is not just found on the battlefield, it is also in the choices we make every day. These warrior maidens, who guide fallen heroes to Valhalla, show that sacrifice often entails guiding others to greatness. Their strength is not merely physical but deeply spiritual. They carry the weight of responsibility, making choices that affect countless lives. Their unwavering dedication to their mission teaches us that true strength lies in our ability to uplift others, to share our gifts for the betterment of the world around us. These stories also explore the fragile nature of human existence. The myth of Ragnarök, the prophesied end of the world, serves as a powerful reminder that life is fleeting. It teaches us to cherish every moment, to live fully and authentically. In the face of inevitable doom, the gods fight valiantly, showcasing unwavering bravery. Their resolve, even in the face of destruction, inspires us to confront our own challenges with dignity. The myth encourages us to embrace the beauty of life's transience and to make the most of our time on this earth. As we absorb these moral lessons, we feel a profound connection to the characters who embody these values. Their struggles and triumphs mirror our own lives, echoing the dilemmas we face daily. In moments of doubt or fear, we can draw strength from their stories, finding the courage to confront our challenges and make choices that reflect our values. The richness of Germanic mythology lies not just in its fantastical elements, but in its deep exploration of the human experience. Each story invites us to reflect on our own lives, urging us to consider how we can embody the principles of honor, courage, loyalty, and sacrifice. The characters become our guides, showing us the beauty of living authentically and the importance of nurturing the bonds that connect us to one another. As we navigate the complexities of our lives, we are reminded that these values are not merely ancient concepts, but living truths that can shape our world today. The stories of Germanic mythology resonate within us, igniting a fire that calls us to act with integrity, to face our fears, and to stand by those we love. Through their struggles, we learn that our choices matter, that honor is a path we choose, and that true courage often lies in vulnerability. The emotional depth found in these tales echoes long after the last word is spoken. They invite us to carry their lessons into our own lives, reminding us that we are all part of this great tapestry of humanity. The values woven into these stories offer guidance and inspiration, urging us to strive for greatness and to honor the legacy of those who came before us. With each lesson learned, we become stronger, more resilient, and more connected to the world around us, ensuring that the essence of these timeless myths lives on in our hearts. In the quiet corners of our modern world, echoes of ancient tales still resonate, connecting us to a time long past. Germanic mythology, with its rich tapestry of gods, heroes, and mythical creatures, has woven itself into the fabric of contemporary culture, shaping our beliefs, art, and identities in profound ways. These stories, filled with drama and emotion, continue to breathe life into our understanding of the human experience, reminding us that the themes of love, sacrifice, and struggle are timeless. When we think about the legacy of Germanic myths, it's easy to see their fingerprints on today's popular culture. From blockbuster movies to best-selling novels, the influences of gods like Odin and Thor have captured the imaginations of millions. Films that depict epic battles between good and evil echo the ancient struggles of the gods against giants and monsters. Each frame vibrates with the same tension that existed in the hearts of warriors thousands of years ago, a testament to the enduring appeal of these narratives. The figure of Thor, with his mighty hammer, transcends time and space, becoming a symbol of strength and resilience for a new generation. It's a reminder that even in our most difficult moments, we can draw upon the courage of our ancestors to face the storms of life. These stories are not just entertainment, they hold a mirror to our own struggles and triumphs. The moral lessons embedded in Germanic mythology resonate deeply, inspiring individuals to embody the virtues of bravery, loyalty, and honor. In a world that often feels chaotic, these timeless tales provide a sense of order, urging us to reflect on our choices and how we relate to others. They encourage us to forge connections, reminding us that we are part of a larger tapestry, interwoven with the lives of those who came before us. Religion, too, has felt the influence of Germanic mythology. As Christianity spread across Europe, it didn't erase the old beliefs, but rather absorbed and transformed them. Elements of these ancient myths found their way into Christian teachings, creating a rich tapestry of belief that continues to shape spiritual practices today. Festivals, customs, and even names carry echoes of the past, inviting us to honor our heritage while navigating the complexities of modern faith. The connection to nature, evident in the reverence for sacred groves and the changing seasons, remains a vital part of many contemporary spiritual practices, reminding us to respect the earth and its cycles. In the realm of personal identity, Germanic mythology offers a powerful source of inspiration. Many individuals look to these ancient tales to understand their roots and find a sense of belonging. The characters and their struggles can serve as archetypes that resonate with our own journeys. Whether it's the heroic journey of Sigurd or the wisdom of Odin, these figures provide templates for navigating our lives. In their stories, we see reflections of our hopes, fears, and aspirations, igniting a spark of courage that pushes us to strive for greatness in our own lives. Moreover, as societies evolve and grapple with contemporary issues, the themes found in Germanic mythology remain relevant. The battle against oppression and the quest for justice resonate today, echoing the struggles of the past. The resilience shown by characters like Beowulf in the face of insurmountable odds inspires activists fighting for change in their communities. These myths remind us that while the challenges we face may look different, the spirit of perseverance and the fight for what is right endures. The symbolism present in Germanic mythology also finds new life in modern artistic expressions. From visual art to literature, the imagery of gods, giants, and mythical beasts continues to inspire creativity. Artists use these symbols to explore contemporary themes, bridging the gap between past and present. The tales become a canvas upon which we can project our dreams, fears, and desires, making the old stories feel fresh and relevant in our lives. As we reflect on the legacy of Germanic mythology, we begin to understand that these ancient stories do more than just entertain, they shape our worldviews and help us navigate the complexities of life. They remind us that we are part of something larger than ourselves, tied to a rich history filled with struggles and victories. They call us to honor the values that have stood the test of time, urging us to be courageous in the face of adversity and loyal to those we love. In today's fast-paced world, where technology often disconnects us from our roots, these myths provide a grounding force. They connect us to the land, to our ancestors, and to each other. The natural world, once filled with spirits and deities, beckons us to remember our place within it. The mountains, rivers, and forests, steeped in myth, remind us of the importance of harmony with nature. They call us to step outside, to feel the earth beneath our feet, and to recognize the magic in the world around us. In a society often divided by differences, the universal themes of Germanic mythology have the power to unite. They remind us that regardless of our backgrounds, we share fundamental human experiences: love, loss, hope, and the search for meaning. These myths invite us to find common ground, to celebrate our shared humanity, and to acknowledge that the struggles of our ancestors continue to resonate in our lives today. As we embrace the enduring legacy of Germanic mythology, we find ourselves connected to a rich history that continues to influence our present. The stories, characters, and values embedded in these ancient tales resonate deeply within us, guiding our choices and shaping our identities. They inspire us to be courageous, to honor our commitments, and to seek the deeper meaning in our lives. With each retelling, these myths breathe new life into our world, ensuring that their impact will be felt for generations to come. In their presence, we find strength, hope, and a reminder that we are never alone on our journey through life.